is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media, Incorporated. Let's see. A blowout, a birthday, and a catastrophic injury all in the same game? What could I possibly be talking about? Week 6 of the NFL is coming up at you. This is Total Football Talk. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Total Football Talk. Hard-hitting, grinding news and fun, just the way you like it. I am one of the co-hosts of this program, Cole Johnson, a.k.a. the Mad Scientist, the EP of all EPs, an EP extraordinaire. And I am joined by the other co-host of this program, so you know him as Mr. Commander's Grinding Report, Mr. D. Willie in the Evening, Mr. In or Out Sports Debate, and you also know him as D. Willie. My brother D. Willie is in the house. How you doing, my man?
Hey, feeling great this morning, brother. Glad to be here with you yet again. Episode 50, Mother Fathering 9. We are here in the house.
Yeah. Yes, we are. And since we are in the house, let's get this thing started with the opening drive.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Ready.
So in review of this week, you have the Chiefs, the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Vikings on a bye. So you will not hear those four teams mentioned. The Chiefs, the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Vikings. They had a bye in the upcoming games we are reviewing. And we will start with Thursday night's affair. All right, so you have an NFC West tilt between the host Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. And the 49ers basically had control of the game, and it was really no contest. 36-24 was the final score. It really wasn't that close per se. Brock Purdy, decent game. 18 of 28, 255 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also had 4 carries for 19 yards. Isaac Guerendo, he had 10 carries for 99 yards. Jordan Mason, only 9 carries. We had 73 yards with a reception and 9 yards to boot. But the rushing attack came to play as the 49ers offense chewed up the clock with 228 yards on the ground. Deebo Samuel, he contributed for 15 of those yards on the ground with 4 carries. But he also was a big contributor through the air. 3 receptions, under 2 yards on a touchdown. You have Renardo Green and Malik Mustafa each with interceptions, and Matthew Wright giving you 3 of 3 field goals. Now, for the Seahawks, not to be outdone, Geno Smith, he must have a strong rotator cuff because he's throwing his arm out. 30 of 52, 312 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks, with a carry and no yards. All right, your thoughts on basically a game the 49ers control from opening kickoff?
52 passes. It's like you said, like he's got a strong rotator cuff. What an attempt of passes here in this game. When you have 52 passes, it's just as bad as when Joe Burrow the week before had 5 touchdown passes and lost. So when you think about that, the effort that's coming from Geno Smith, bounced around the league, now at the Seahawks, after a few years here, now after a couple of years as a starter, doing what he's doing, and especially competing with the 49ers. I mean, this is good when you think about their rivalry and, the interdivisional play between these two teams. It definitely speaks volumes for the future of the Seahawks. They've got a good young team now, good young coach, definitely have a bright future. This 49ers team definitely showed that they are not done yet, despite the injuries they've accrued. And then you think about what's going on with C-Mac over there as the running back. So definitely big win for them as well to get back on track. Not a big deficit for the Seahawks. They still have a bright future and potentially a bright future for this year as well. We'll have to see how things pan out for them the rest of this year. But I like what I saw out of Geno. I like what I saw overall from this team. They just couldn't really get it done in the fourth quarter, and they struggled in the first. So in the second and third quarters, they were looking pretty good. It took them a little while to establish the run, and they really couldn't establish the run for the most part because you think about the fact that Geno Smith had 52 passes in the game, 52 pass attempts. Yeah. So looking at that, they need to do a better job with establishing the run, but I like with the track that they're on right now.
And it's not like they are bereft of running backs. I mean, you have Kenneth Walker the third being one of them. And when he gets going, the dude can show he can carry the load. So that isn't, I agree with you. That isn't an issue at all. And I think it would make DK Metcalf an even more effective weapon. And just the use of the running game, period. 100% agree with you. Playmaker says, good morning, brothers. He said, bye week. And for those who don't know, Playmaker's a Rams fan. He says, that's the only good thing from this weekend.
Hey, the game of the week was a good one too. We'll talk about that here in a little bit.
We definitely will. Six says, what's good, everybody? I hope everything's good with you this afternoon over in Norway, sir.
Good morning, brother.
Ron McCarthy says, good morning, TFT crew. And a happy Canadian Thanksgiving to you, Drew.
Yes, he taught me what Canadian Thanksgiving was. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew there was such thing, but I didn't know when it was. And the fact that it is today. Congratulations, Canada. You learn something new every day, like you told me. But yes, thank you, Ryan, for teaching me that.
Yeah, because I thought actually it was the first. I actually thought that, Ryan. I thought it was the first Monday in October. Now I'm learning it's the second. That's good to know. Dante, our resident Eagles fan, he says, good morning. I hope everything's good with you, Dante. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning,
He
brother.
says, Geno seems so uninterested, like he blew them that game. I don't know about that.
I mean, when you look at 14 carries for 32 yards from Walker, I mean, that's not really helping you out much.
No.
There were a lot of games that were decided this weekend based on the fact that they couldn't establish the run, and this right here was the first of many.
Oh, good point. In fact, I agree with you. In fact, that's such a good point. Yeah, that puts the nail on the coffin on that one. Both teams end up being 3-3. The 49ers improved to 3-3. Unfortunately, now the Seahawks drop to 3-3. Let's go out to England, shall we? Now, normally this is when the Jaguars shine. They go out to their home away from home, and they... Oh, we'll scratch that. We won't do that yet. Nice tease. But we'll touch on the other Sunday games, starting with the not so frozen, but basically rain-soaked tundra of Lambeau Field. Between the Packers and the visiting Cardinals, the Packers controlled this game from start to finish. 34-13 was the final score. Jordan Love looks like he's getting a little bit more comfortable from his from being injured. 22-32, 258 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did throw a pick. He also carried the ball 5 times for 13 yards as well. Josh Jacobs, he was basically playing the old role of Aaron Jones. 18 carries, 62 yards. He also had 3 receptions for 28. But the Packers offense, they basically just mashed on the Cardinals defensive front, 179 rushing yards. And the Packers defense, not to be outdone, they had not 1, not 2, but 3 fumble recoveries. Braden Arvison, he gave you 2 or 3 field goals. Now, for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, 22-32, 214 yards and a touchdown. He also had 7 carries, 14 yards, and Trey McBride, 8 receptions for 96 yards. And not to be outdone, Sean Murphy Bunting, he gave you a pick. Your thoughts on the Packers' 21-point victory over the Cardinals?
I mean, they should have won, considering the fact they threw the ball to 27 different receivers. I mean, Jordan Love did a great job of spreading the ball
out. Yeah,
it wasn't 27 receivers, people, but it was like 10 different receivers that he had.
And it may have been 12 or 13 if if completions were made.
Yes, you just stole the words right out of my mouth, because that's exactly where I was going with that. I mean, Jordan Love, very similar to Aaron Rodgers with the fact of how he's spreading this ball around to this offense. It's looking really good. The Cardinals, even Kyler Murray wasn't that bad. Didn't turn the ball over. Just couldn't get the ball in the end zone. And they, just like we talked about the last game, another game where they couldn't establish the run. Your leading rusher had 5 carries for 26 yards. Absolutely terrible on the day. You should be ashamed of yourself. They want to talk about Deshaun Watson getting arrested for stealing money. I mean, these running backs who are putting up 5 carries for 20 yards are definitely stealing money. You got paid like what, $800,000 in the game to carry the ball 5 times and get 25 yards. This is absolutely terrible. Is that number exactly spot on? Probably not. But when you think about what Deshaun Watson's doing and you compare and contrast to other players and other positions, this is just as bad. The Cardinals need help, and they need a running game for one. They need a little bit more help in that offensive line, because that also contributes to why you put numbers like this up. I mean, you can have a mediocre running back, but a solid offensive line, and you can make him look like close to Derrick Henry with 150 yards a game if you had the right pieces in place. Just like many other teams we'll talk about in this opening drive, establishing the run is key. But right here and now, this is a result of not being able to do that with the Cardinals. You can have an efficient quarterback in Kyler Murray who's getting better as each week progresses. But if you don't have a running game, you're not going to be able to spread the ball out like they did over there on the Packers side. Because even though 62 yards isn't a lot, you think about the fact of what Josh Jacobs was able to do with 18 carries, opening things up for the rest of the plays, and that they've spread the ball out to 10 different receivers within this offense, completing a lot of those passes as well. When you look at what Jordan Love did on the day, he did have an interception. It is what it is. But if you can still win the game by 21 points and have a turnover or two, you got a pretty solid team, and it all started with their running game with over 25 rushes between several different running backs. So looking at all that, I'd say that that's where it all started, and that's where it ended. Good on the Packers for getting it done.
Yeah, definitely good on the Packers. And yeah, I think what to me, what is alarming in terms of as an opponent for the Packers is that Jordan Love actually does have the understanding that he needs to spread the ball around. And he is not locked in on someone. So that is a good thing. If you're a Packers fan, it's a bad thing if you're an opponent of the Packers, because you don't know where he's going to go with the ball. Let me see. The Packers are good. They improved to 4-2. I believe the Cardinals, they now dropped to 2-4. But oh well. And it's not that they don't have a running back. I mean, James Conner, at least once every third game, will give you 100 yards on the ground. So they have the ability to run. It's establishing it, which I agree with you. That was the problem, and that definitely was the key in this game. One team did, the other team did not.
It was just like the first game where, they had a lot of action in the second and third quarter, but couldn't quite get it done in the first and fourth quarters, which all that starts with the ability to have a balanced running game. So we'll see how things go as the future goes on for that team.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, good times ahead, definitely for the Packers. Hopefully they can keep pace with the teams ahead of them in the NFC North. Now to the AFC South. 2 teams going at it. The Colts visiting Nashville to play the Titans. And it actually was a pretty close game. Would this actually qualify for game of the week? No. Because the Indianapolis Colts Tennessee Titans game is brought to you by the letter.
That's the best part of waking up.
But it was probably the closest game of the week. 20-17 was the final score. The Colts over the Titans. Joe Flacco showing that he's trying to turn back the clock. did not have the best of games, but he was there when you needed him. 22-38, 189 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. He did have a carry for a yard. On defense, Julian Blackmon, he ended up with a pick. Of Will Levis, who is the quarterback, who is the gift giver. 60-27, 95 yards, a touchdown, and that interception because the Titans were driving down the field, and he just chunked up a duck, and it almost looked like a punt. But he also carried the ball three times for 15 yards. Tony Pollard, who was probably the star of the game, in my opinion, 17 carries, 93 yards and a touchdown. He also had three receptions for -5 yards. And on defense, Amani Hooker ended up with a pick. He also had a pass interference that negated another pick. Your thoughts on the Colts Titans?
Is this name Levis or Levi's? Because that dude got worn this past weekend. Like, look at what happened. He got worn out there. 95 yards on the day.
I wish that was a typo.
Malik Willis was doing better than that.
Yes,
I mean, this is sad. It's absolutely sad. I mean, you look at what Drake May did with the Patriots, and even though they lost by worse, he still did better. He was more efficient as a quarterback. Yeah, I mean,
far better.
The fact that he led them to more scores in a game than what Brissett was doing, and now you look over to the Titans. I mean, was it a close game? Yes. There's still a lot more things that the Colts need to work on. But their quarterback position, when Joe Flacco's in there, is definitely more efficient than when Anthony Richardson's been. And you might need to look at your bench if you're Tennessee and see what you got there, and if you think that might be a better option than Will Levis. Because like I said, is it Levis or Levi's? Because he's getting worn right now. This is absolutely terrible. Looking at how this team played against this other team. I mean, Joe Flacco had an interception, and they still won by 3 points. Now, I will say that on the Titans side, the reason why the game was as close as it was because the fact that Tony Pollard was able to carry the ball 17 times and have almost 100 yards in the game. Had he not been able to establish the run on that side, this game would have been far worse than what it was. It would have been more than 3 points. It would have been like 14 to 22 points difference, in my opinion, from going back and watching the highlights. So based on what's going on here, big for the big win for the Colts, getting back to 500, especially when you look at the fact that they have the issues at quarterback that they did and then having to turn to their backup because of Anthony Richardson getting banged up. Will Levis, 16-27, 95 yards. You cannot win games like that. I'm being very nice today. Like I look at what I was doing with Baker Mayfield when he was bunkering it up last year, and not even close to this bad. So because of the fact that they have a pretty decent running game, and which is going to keep them close here, they're not going to get much better than what they are if they can't get better play from their quarterback. And I don't even see that being a possibility. In the fact that you have DeAndre Hopkins on your team as a receiver, there's no excuse for you to not be able to pass for 150 plus yards in the game when you have other decent talent around you at receiver as well. So bad on the Titans. Potentially could have another coaching move at the end of this season, and it's going to be based on the fact that Will Levis is there and is the worst option for you at quarterback out of all 32 teams in this current moment.
DeAndre Hopkins on one side, Calvin Ridley on the other. That should tell you how bad Will Levis is.
Again, I was being nice. Or at least this morning I was.
Oh, my gosh. Playmaker said, bye week. Look, Seahawks lose, as I told Cole Johnson. Cardinals lose. Good NFL week. Yeah, the 49ers won. That basically taints all the good week it is. But I digress. But I do agree with you here, Playmaker. That Colts Titans game was... So I watched all of that. Ryan says, the fake Oilers, or Foilers, as you said, sir, had Malik Willis, and they traded him to Green Bay. Their next option is Mason Rudolph. You want to talk about being nice? He's the quarterback that actually got you a win for this year. That's how bad it is. The Titans have won at 5 now. The Colts have improved to 3-3. Oh my gosh, when you had to rely on Mason Rudolph to win games. Ooh. Whew, wow.
So bad.
That is real bad. All right. Now, to the team that is actually leading the way in the AFC South, the Houston Texans. They went to Green Bay. They went to Foxborough to play the Patriots. And for the first time in the franchise's history, they walk away with a victory there. 41-21. CJ Stroud, decent and efficient. Could have been a little better, but not bad. 20 of 31, 192 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did throw a pick thanks to a bobble in the end zone. 3 carries for 7 yards on the ground. I'll get to the person that I think that really helped out matters later. The offense, they established the run with 192 yards on the ground. On defense, Will Anderson Jr., 6 tackles, 4 tackles for losses, a pass defense, 3 QB hits, and 3 sacks. He put down Drake May. 3 of the 4 sacks that the Texas defense amassed. Caleb Bullock had a pick. Eric Murray also had a pick. And Kimmy Fairbairn, he was 2 of 3 with his leg. Now, we talk about Drake May in the last segment. We'll talk about him now. 20 of 33, 243 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Not bad for a debut in the NFL, actually. 5 carries for 38 yards on the ground. He did do a but it's unfortunate. Demario Douglas, 6 receptions for 92 yards and a touchdown. On defense of Patriots, Marcus Jones with an INT. But to me, the star player of the game, the returning Joe Mixon. 13 carries, 102 yards with a touchdown, with 2 receptions for 30 yards and a receiving touchdown. The Texans look like a different team on offense with Joe Mixon in the lineup. That's what I believe. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
You know, the Texans definitely routed the Patriots by the end of it, but the first half it wasn't like that. It took the Texans a little bit of time to get going. Also, CJ Stroud threw that interception in the first half, which allowed the Patriots to score that touchdown with seconds left in the second quarter, going into halftime. This game was
a good throw up I may add.
It was for his first touchdown pass. That was very nice. You know, looking at that, you know, the Patriots fans definitely have something to be excited about, you know, moving forward, but not much to be excited about this year. They still have some moves they need to make over the next offseason or two. Big win for the Houston Texans, thinking about the fact that they've been in existence for 22 seasons, 23 seasons now, somewhere, give or take a few, or give or take one. And this is the first time they've won in Foxborough. I mean, considering the fact that this is the first year without Brady or Belichick in the building for the Patriots. So a lot of new changes over there in Foxborough, and they're definitely taking effect and showing us that it's going to be a little bit of a time. This is definitely a rebuilding year for this team. And, you know, it was probably a week too late. They should have probably put Drake May in there last week against the Dolphins to get a little bit of a better start to his career. But I'm not mad at it at the same time. You look at how competitive it was in the first half based on the fact there was a little bit of a slow start for the Texans. You know, offense and defensively, they're turning the ball over. They didn't really establish the run until the second half. The defense didn't really pick things up until the second half with Anderson doing what he did on the defensive side. So definitely an exciting win for the Texans. Big second half, but a slow start to the game that they're going to need to get a little bit better at, because against better teams, a slow start to a game like this, you're not going to be able to overcome it unless you're playing a team of the caliber like the Patriots, but still don't want to take anything away from the win that they had. It was big, but just don't keep doing that with these slow starts.
And you want to know why I love Drew? I'm a Texans fan. There is one syllable he just said that I disagree with. That's exactly how I think. Every syllable, that's exactly what I would think. I'm proud of the 20-point victory. You showed that you can rout a team that you should beat, but you started off too slow. And you need to start off a little faster. Although they tried. I mean, they did go 14-0 the first quarter, but they basically had a lull in the second quarter. And they made too many mistakes that got the team into the game, and a better team probably would have either tied them or led them going in the half. And they can't do that with better teams. I could not have said that, but thank you. Thank you. Yes, I know the Texans are 5-1. I'm happy that they are, but They got to be better if they're going to be an AFC representative in the Super Bowl.
Absolutely should be happy. I mean, there's nothing. Like I said, don't take anything away from what I said as far as negative. Not you, but I'm just saying the people out there, because 5-1 is huge. But if you keep starting that way, you're not going to end it as good as you started.
No, and they should learn this lesson, because they got a good start against the Jaguars, a good start against the Bills, and they had a good start against the Patriots. You know, they weren't close to losing this game. They were close to losing the other two. But yes, with that being said, the Texans, they improved to 5-1, and they make now the Patriots 1-5. But yeah, Drake May, if you're a Patriots fan, be happy. I think you have a good future with that man leading your team. Now, to the Superdome, where the Saints hosted the Bucs, and their arch rival decided to have their way with them, 51-27. And we're going to do this just a little bit differently. We're actually going to go with the losing team first. Spencer Rattler, who also had his debut start in the NFL, not as good as Drake May. 22 of 40, 243 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. He also had 4 carries to 27 yards. Now on defense, you had Jonathan Abram, Paulson Adebo, and Cameron Jordan, each with a pick. That's all the highlights of the Saints that I need to even mention. Now on the Bucs side, on defense, they had 10 quarterback hits, and they decided to sack Rattler 5 times. You had Zion McCollum with a pick, and you had Tyke Smith with a pick. Even Baker Mayfield, efficient but mistake prone. 24-36, 325 yards, 4 touchdowns. And you heard me mention he also threw 3 picks. He also carried the ball 3 times for 29 yards. Sean Tucker, 14 carries, 136 yards, a touchdown, 3 receptions, 56 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Bucky Irving, he also had 14 carries for 81 yards, and he also had a touchdown. He had 2 receptions with 24 yards. Chris Godwin on the receiving end, 11 receptions, 125 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But the stat of the game, the Bucs offense, and this is not a misnomer, this is not a typo, 277 yards on the ground. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. They gained 277 yards on the ground. That's the offensive lineman. That just gives me joy when I see that number. Your thoughts on the Bucs routing the Saints in the second half?
This was another game, like you said, just at the end of that second half, where it was a slow start for the team that won. When you look at how Baker Mayfield was playing in the first half, especially with multiple interceptions in the first half, he was definitely qualifying for bunker Stayfield status. I mean, that's how I felt going into halftime. We had a quarterback who I'd never heard of before being is the quarterback for the Saints, and they were up 27-24 at halftime.
They were
they were up by a field goal. I was definitely calling him bunker Stayfield by halftime. I was checking it out on Red Zone on the other TV. Like it was absolutely wild. Getting hype over the commies on one TV, the other one on Red Zone, and looking around, and he's bunkering it up again. I mean, that's just how I felt when I was watching the first half. It was absolutely terrible. But the fact that the Saints could not establish the run with Kamara
at all.
The fact that they were well beyond establishing the run for the Buccaneers between the first half and then definitely taking off in the second half, that was what carried them through this game. That's why they were able to get up 17 points in the first quarter and get a big jump. Their defense let them down in the second quarter, which was why the Saints came back and were up 27-24 at the half. But there were some words of inspiration during halftime, probably some F-bombs dropped here and there to get this team right on track. And they did come back out firing away. They were at 51 points by the end of this game. Baker Mayfield finally turned things around, got to where he had more touchdowns than interceptions before the end of the game. But like you said, over 200 yards on the ground on the day. He had 136 on 14 attempts by Sean Tucker and another 81 by Bucky Irving on the same amount of attempts at 14. So between the two of them, not only did they both combine for 28 carries on the day, but they both got in the end zone with a touchdown as well. Sterling Shepard also added another 31 yards on 4 carries, and Baker Mayfield's 29 on 3 carries for those 200 plus. Definitely absolutely huge. Chris Godwin has been big coming up on catches for moving the chains. Not only just with his numbers, but he's been big on getting first downs for this team since the start of the year. When they first had the first game in week 1 against the Commanders. So 11 catches, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns is no joke. And Sean Tucker, not only did he do what he do on the ground, but he also had 3 catches for 56 yards in the air for a touchdown as well. So 2 touchdowns along with 14 carries and 3 catches, and combined for nearly 200 yards by himself between catching and rushing. Sean Tucker was absolutely huge. If I were to give an MVP of the game, it would go to Tucker. It would be a toss-up between Tucker and Godwin, and I probably lean more towards Tucker because of how I feel about establishing the run. Big win for the Buccaneers here, because it's a divisional game for one, and for two, especially when you look at how the game started, it could have easily gone sideways, but this team has a winning record for a good reason, and 4-2 is a great start through 6 weeks. So big win for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, it is. And they needed this win basically, for all intents and purposes, to keep up with the Falcons. We'll touch on them later. Playmaker said, Dustin Pelicans #1. New Orleans Saints, why? Baker Mayfield threw 3 picks and still put up a 50-burger in the Superdome. Yep. And he says, yes, and this, talking about the amassing of over 300 yards in the air with the Bucs, this is with Mike Evans barely making the stat sheet. Well, to Drew's point, that is why Chris Godwin has been a godsend to me for Baker Mayfield. I think he has steadied him in making him efficient, being that chain mover that you normally rely with tight ends to do. It seems like Mayfield is thinking of that way with Godwin, and I'm happy for him. He has Godwin to do that. The Bucs improved to 4-2, as my brother said. The Saints, they dropped to 2-4, and that beautiful explosive start looks like a whole different team and a whole different season. Now, I don't know if Dante's going to be happy or stoic. The Eagles hosting the Browns. The Eagles won 20-16 over the Browns, but the game was a type of thing. Jalen Hurts, 60-25, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, 14 carries, 33 yards on the ground. No turnovers. Con, that carry total needs to drop. A.J. Brown, the returning A.J. Brown, I think that's what helped Hurts. 6 receptions, 116 yards for the touchdown. The Eagles defense, 10 quarterback hits and 5 sacks, doing their thing of Deshaun Watson against Deshaun Watson. Jake Elliott, 2 or 3 field goals. And then you have Deshaun Watson. 16 of 23, 168 yards, 4 carries for 17 yards. And Dante, I'm looking at a quarterback, Deshaun Watson, and I believe he wants to blow games now. Dustin Hopkins, pretty much the best player on the Browns, other than maybe Myles Garrett. 3 or 4 field goals on the day. All right, your thoughts on the Eagles eking out a win that for the first game did not really involve Saquon Barkley being a big part of it.
They missed Saquon, is what it seemed like. This game was pretty ugly, in my opinion. They definitely showed that they need Saquon in order to get things done. Even though he played 18 carries, they established a run with the amount of carries, but at the same time, with the amount of production, they need him to have north of 75 yards in order for them to take away the games. And this was definitely not good for them to have this type of production against the Browns. Now, the big thing that's going with the Browns, the reason why they have the one win, the reason why certain games have been close this year is because of their defense. It's not by their offense at any means, because Deshaun Watson, again, with another 100 and some odd yard performance as a passing quarterback is absolutely terrible. And they're getting one step closer to going to Jameis Winston because unless they're just gunning for the number 1 overall pick next year at this point and potentially go for another quarterback, it's not looking good for the Browns in their future, and they need far more than a quarterback. Deshaun Watson might not even be as bad as he is if they had a little bit better in protection of the offensive line. Now, it might not be talent, it might be mental, because you look at what they were doing last year with Joe Flacco, they might not be blocking for a reason.
The same line,
So, putting all that in perspective, they got some decisions to make over there. If Kevin Stefanski wants to continue to be a head coach for the Browns or potentially in the NFL at all, he's going to need to make some type of big decision and do it a little bit faster than what the Jets tried to do with the whole taking the play calling duties away from Nathaniel Hackett potentially a week too late, which potentially could be the reason why Robert Saleh doesn't have a job anymore. So you need to look at that as an example of what could happen if you don't make a change. In that case for New York, it was for a coach. And the other one in this case is for a starting quarterback. Even though you're paying the quarterback a lot of money and he'd still be making the same amount of money on the bench, it's, do you want to win now, or do you want to continue to lose and be a week-to-week basis on not only yourself as a coach, but the rest of your staff? The Browns situation is not looking good. For the Eagles, it's a big win in the fact that, you know, they're still in the running for the NFC East. I mean, it's still up there for the taking. You know, the Commanders have been doing well over the first 6 weeks, and we'll talk about more about them for a little bit. But the NFC East is still up for grabs. Had they lost, you know, it'd be a pretty big loss considering the fact that the Commanders had just beaten this team the week prior. You look at the deficiencies between the Giants and the Cowboys right now is literally between the Commanders and the Eagles for the NFC East at this point. We could be saying something different in the next 8 weeks, but for right now, through the first 6 weeks, we're going to say that these are the two teams that we can take seriously in the NFC East. But it's tough to take you seriously when you're only beating a team to the caliber of the Browns by only 4 points, and you can't establish the run with Saquon Barkley. I'll at least give them a little bit of leeway here, considering the type of rush defense they're facing with the Browns, which is probably, in my opinion, a top 5 rush defense.
It is.
So with that being said, that's the reason why you got the production out of Saquon on the day. But it also does show the grit of this team to be able to not be able to establish the run and still find a way to win the game. And it says things about Jalen Hurts as well. When you think about the fact that he only had 9 incompletions on the day, he still put up 250 plus yards, 264 to be exact, and had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and was doing a pretty good job of protecting the ball. So there's more positives to say about the Eagles here than negatives, but at the same time, we do need to keep in mind that if they face teams that have a really good rush defense in the playoffs, it's not going to look good if they have production like this. They need to find ways to get more production out of their running backs when they're facing true caliber defenses and not fold to this caliber, because it's not going to work like that out in the playoffs.
You may have a point there. Playmaker said, bowling shoe ugly number 2, Eagles surviving the Browns. It might be true. I wouldn't say it was all the way bowling shoe ugly, because Jalen Hurts actually looked pretty good. So I think that, for me, wouldn't make it all bowling shoe ugly. But I'll ask the resident Eagles fan, one Mr. Dante Hill. He said, there's no way we should have struggled on offense like that. Well, I agree. I don't think you should have struggled on the run as much. But again, it is like what Drew said. That Browns defensive front is a little stout. So they're gonna make you earn those. They're gonna make them earn those yards. Ryan says, Deshaun Watson, the man with more settled lawsuits and passing touchdowns as a member of the Cleveland Browns. You are not lying, sir. Dante says, look, it's Hurts and Nick. No way with this roster we're this bad. Hurts is a turnover machine. It's bad when they're not turning over the ball that it's noticeable. Well, in this game, you have to give him credit for not turning the ball over. And hopefully it can feed on itself. And I think with the addition of AJ Brown in the lineup, and I think Devontae Smith actually got some play too, I think that might help him not turn the ball over as much because he won't have to press as much or as hard. And then you have Saquon in the backfield. That should help him not turn the ball over that much. But he says, just fire Nick. Just fire him.
I think you guys got to put a little bit more respect on Myles Garrett's name. I mean, when you have a defense that's led by him and what they're doing over there for that unit, in this one, Nick's safe for another week. Okay, give him another week, week-to-week basis. But no, the reason why this game was as close is not Nick's fault.
No. And for those who want to know, what are you talking about with Nick? Nick, as the head coach of the Eagles, Nick Sirianni. But I have said Eagles fan has wanted Nick Sirianni's job for a minute. So it doesn't surprise you that I'm hearing that from Dante. But they improved to 3-2. The Browns, they fall to 1-5. Oh my gosh. More Sunday games. We can go to the afternoon slate where we found the Chargers and the
So bad.
Chargers and the Broncos. The final score is 23-13. The Chargers pretty much had this game in control over the Broncos. Gosh, I don't know what to say. Although I will say this, I think this is probably the best game that Justin Herbert has had this year. And it still wasn't all that great. 21-34, 237 yards to the touchdown. He also had 4 carries for 2 yards. J.K. Dobbins. I will say this, and this is why I love a Jim Harbaugh coach team. If nothing else, they will establish the run. 25 carries, 96 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 2 receptions for 6 yards, so of course he had over 100 yards total offense. On defense, Elijah Molden, he had a pick, and Cameron Dicker, 3 of 3 field goals. On the Broncos side, Bo Nix, 19 of 33, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. I just mentioned the pick. He also had 6 carries to 61 yards. This was an ugly game. Your thoughts on the Chargers beating the Broncos?
If anybody said that this game deserved to be the game of the week, I would drug test it. Because this would be very, very, very questionable on your end. Going into halftime, the Chargers were up 20-0. Okay, right. Deservingly so. I mean, they had their best half of football,
probably all year.
Yeah, you took me right to it. Like they had literally their best half of football all year. What Jim Harbaugh's doing with his team has definitely been great to see. I've been enjoying watching it. But in the second half, they fell off a little bit. They were up 23-0 by the end of the third quarter. Right. So through 3 quarters, they were shutting out the other team. But it was like the defense forgot how to defend in the third quarter. The fourth quarter, my apologies. So with that being said, they need to improve on that, especially when you're playing against a team that's had a roller coaster-ish type of few seasons in the Denver Broncos. They definitely been making some improvements. Bo Nix has definitely been showing throughout the first 6 weeks that he's the quarterback of the future for this team, but they need a little bit of help. They need some more help at wideouts, need some more help in that offensive line. And looking at how things are overall for the Broncos, they definitely need a little bit more help in the run game. Because your quarterback is leading the way with 6 carries for 61 yards. Your next leading rusher is your running back with 6 carries who has the same, but 23 yards on the day. It's not going to do any favors for your team. And a reason why they were getting blanked in the first half, through the first 3 quarters. So putting all that in perspective, they've got to adjust that during the near future. If they decide to retain Sean Payton after this year, they got to make some more moves to their offensive line. Potentially bringing another running back, another wideout or so. They've got to make some moves and be aggressive with free agents, but they also need to make some moves within the draft as well and continue to improve. The fact that Broncos are 3-3, I think, speaks a lot of volumes on Sean Payton as a coach. It's definitely huge for them. The Chargers coming back from a bye week doing what they did was definitely huge. Coming back and blanking a team out in the first 3 quarters, but you got to lean on J.K. Dobbins for what he did in this game throughout that first half. Throughout this game, had 25 carries for 96 yards and a touchdown. Absolutely great, considering they had no other bits of running game outside of that. They had 5 other runners, but with Justin Herbert including for that put up 12, 13 carries for 30 yards. So J.K. Dobbins is the reason why they were able to establish the run. He was the reason that they made Justin Herbert and the rest of that offense look pretty good, because even receiving wise, they were a little bit spotty there as well. So looking at that for what it is, definitely a big win for the Chargers and showing for their future. Their kicker was 3 of 3 on the day for 46 yards for a long of that as well. So definitely good overall with that. But the Broncos need a little bit more help, and this game was the way it was because of that fact alone.
100% agree with you. And in the game, Jim Harbaugh actually had to go under the tent for an arrhythmia issue. Thankfully, everything is fine with him. The Chargers have to understand, and I hope they do understand, and I hope they have in the back of their minds how they looked against the Chiefs. They looked strong in the first half, and they did absolutely nothing in the second, and that cost them the game. It could have been the same thing with this one if they didn't have the big lead they had in the game in the first place. However, they did come up with a W, so now they improved to 3-2, so they have that off the bye. The Broncos, they dropped to 3-3, and Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator of the Broncos, not bad for the worst performance your defense has had this year. 23 points is saying something, but of course you already know you almost had to pitch shutouts for your team to win. All right. Going from the Rockies to the desert, the Las Vegas Raiders. They host the Pittsburgh Steelers. And of course, it's the legacy battle between those two. They met up in the 74, 75, 76 AFC Championship games. Of course, we had to go through the stuff like we did with the Cowboys and the Steelers last week. Well, the Steelers, they decided to whoop up on the Raiders, and they beat them up, beat them down, beat them sideways, 32-13. The game wasn't even that close. Justin Fields, 14 of 24, 145 yards, 11 more carries on the ground with 59 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. A Najee Harris sighting. And I think that was probably the best thing for them. 14 carries, 106 yards and a touchdown. He also had 2 receptions with 16 yards. But that 106 yards and by Harris and 59 of Fields, that buoyed their rushing attack, which gave them 183 yards on the ground. On defense, Dante Jackson gave you a pick. And Chris Boswell, the leg was active. 4 of 4 field goals with a long of 52 yards. And as for the Raiders, Aidan O'Connell, 27 of 40, 227 yards, a touchdown, an interception, and a Max Crosby shove of a coach on the sideline. Your thoughts on the Steelers molly-whopping the Raiders?
I mean, the Raiders miss Uncle Rico, man. They definitely miss Uncle Rico. I mean, you guys saw the reel. You guys saw the shorts. You know exactly what I'm talking about here. Now, when it comes to this, there's a little bit more they missed than Uncle Rico. I'm just joking. Now, putting all that in perspective, you got to look at how this game went. Justin Fields definitely not doing things pretty, but he's still not turning the ball over. He's still doing what he's supposed to do, and like you said, that's all that matters. But I think the biggest impact for the Steelers team has been their defense throughout this year. We've talked about it. And one of the most underrated moves that we've got to talk about is somebody who came over from the AFC. That's Patrick Queen. I mean, Patrick Queen has made an impact on this defense with TJ Watt. I mean, TJ Watt's been a huge, huge impact for this defense for multiple years. But they didn't have this type of impact as a defense until Patrick Queen came about this past offseason. I mean, you see why he was one of the anchors for the Ravens and why that was a big loss for them, even though they're still finding ways to keep it together because they're a little bit more balanced on offense now. Okay, we'll get to that in a little bit. But when it comes to the Steelers, in order to get them to stick out as much as they have this year, I don't think that they would be at 4-2, and I don't think that their defense would be as productive without Patrick Queen being there. 6 tackles, 7 assists, 7 assists. He was a part of 13 different plays. I mean, that's insane. How often do we have somebody of that caliber? I mean, speaking of that caliber and those stat lines like this, I mean, did he make any huge impacts in the sack fields? No, but
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, like you said. I mean, you look at that stat line. You look at what T.J. Watt did with 5 tackles. You got Cameron Hayward, who had a sack as well. I mean, they were putting the pressure on the Raiders. You know, considering the fact that Aidan O'Connell had all that pressure, he still managed to only throw 1 interception. It's pretty decent for him, considering, you know, where he was last year, just a rookie. But the big thing that affected their rushing game for the Raiders was the fact that this Steelers defense was putting pressure on them. They were only able to gather 57 total yards on 19 carries. That speaks volumes about the type of defense they were going against. So, big win for the Steelers defense. This offense definitely continues to sputter, though, in certain ways. When you got Fields only putting up 145 yards, they're going to have to figure that out before the end of this year, because you can keep winning games like this, but by the time you get to playoff football, you're not going to be able to win games playing at quarterback the way that Fields is. Yes, it's good that he's not turning the ball over, and if he continues to do that, they'll be fine in similar aspects, but they're not going to win when it matters. When it gets down to fourth quarter, less than 8 minutes left, you've got to drive the ball down the field, and even though you're getting the production out of Najee Harris now finally with 106 yards and a touchdown, and Justin Fields is adding more production on the ground, you cannot continue to rely on your quarterback, especially one at the size of Justin Fields, who's another little guy out there. Yeah, it was cool that he got nearly 60 yards and he got 2 touchdowns on the ground, but you need to be able to play quarterback too. And I'm not saying they're going to turn to Russell Wilson this year. He's probably more than likely gone after this year unless he decides to take a cost-cutting, backup role for the team, which I don't foresee that happening. But don't expect them to stick around with Justin Fields 2 and 3 years from now when he's putting up this type of production with 150 or less passing yards per game, and can only run the ball in the end zone a couple times here and there, because he's going to take a hit at some point, and it's not going to work out, because you don't see him sliding and getting down like Jaden Daniels and other mobile quarterbacks out there like Kyler Murray. We've seen him make mistakes before. It's only a matter of time. The Steelers' defense in the running game is what's not exposing him at this point. But as we get later into the year, as it gets colder, and as they take bigger hits, I don't like the recipe that they have right here at quarterback. I do like the fact that he's not turning the ball over. But at the same point, you need to get to where you're throwing 225 plus yards per game, because even though we speak bad of it on Aaron Rodgers and the Jets when he's throwing 225 yards, it's because we expect Aaron Rodgers to throw for 300 and 350 and 400 yards, because that's what we're accustomed to seeing when he was just an MVP 2 years ago. Justin Fields, Justin Fields gets a little bit more leeway because we haven't seen but so much positive out of him. But I can tell you this, less than 150 passing yards per game is not good. And we need to see a better outcome from him if the Steelers team wants to have a chance at making a run anytime in the near future.
Here's something to strengthen your point. So, of course, they played last Sunday night against the Cowboys. If Fields were to have had a game like what you just said he needs to have, that's a W instead of an L for the Steelers. Because the Steelers defense, they did all they could to win that game, to the point where on the very last drive, the play before they gave up the touchdown that was the game winner, they forced a fumble at their own 1 yard line. So this defense can do but only so much. And if a really good team gets a hold of them, they'll exploit the fact that Fields really all he wants to do is run and judiciously throw. And so if you're going to have that little amount of impact on offense, a good team is going to take advantage of that and just simply mollywop you. So I agree with you. More impact in the pocket has to happen from Fields. And yes, please learn how to slide, son. I know that was the issue you had when you were in Chicago. It's going to be a continuous issue until either you learn how to slide or until you get injured. And I don't want to see you get injured because I actually like seeing you out there.
And you can't fully rely on your defense because,
No.
I mean, all it takes is one big shot. You look at what happened with Aidan Hutchinson and the Lions yesterday. Okay. We'll get into that here shortly. But,
Yeah.
I mean, TJ Watt, we've already seen him go down before, and it affected the Steelers, right, in previous seasons.
Yeah. That really negatively affects them. Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact they got Patrick Queen now, it might not be as big of a blow if that were to happen, and I hope it doesn't. But if you continue to rely heavily on one side of the ball instead of having a real well-balanced at three phases at offense, defense, and special teams, more so, let's look at it for what it is. You got to have a better balanced offense and defense because special teams doesn't count as much in any other overall aspect. Correct. But since you heavily rely on your defense, and one of your two big guys between Watt or Queen go down, this team's absolutely screwed. So if you want to have a better chance at winning these games, you need to step it up. And that video I sent you, Cole Johnson, over the weekend of the VR headset that Jaden Daniels was wearing, I think they need to pass one over to Justin Fields because he needs to do a little bit better job at reading coverage on the defensive side.
Agreed. 100% agree. But congratulations, though, Mr. Fields. You have led your team to a 4-2 record, although I agree. I think it's more the defense that has actually carried the weight than him. But still, he is the starting quarterback of a 4-2 team. The Raiders, they are now 2-4. Oh, and Ryan says that, we're going to need to borrow that bowling shoe ugly element for Friday's TFT Extra. Winnipeg, Toronto was simply...
I will say that
Argonauts like that. Wow.
I gave a special shout out to you on Friday for the L button because of how great of an addition that was to our show on Friday afternoon. But if you would be a gentleman and a scholar and throw the bowling shoe ugly up there in the game of the week, that would be awesome because that was the only two buttons that we missed because I think we had dumpster fire on there, but bowling shoe ugly would have worked out great. But, I mean, other than that, you were spot on with that there, Mr. McCoffey. But right here and now, if they don't do a little bit better job with balancing it out with their offense, it's going to turn into a bowling shoe ugly team real fast if they take one hit on that defense. And I hope it doesn't happen because I really enjoy watching that defense work.
I do too. And I hate, when I watched them last Sunday night, I hated the fact with the effort that defense put forth that they had a game-winning touchdown scored on them because I was like, man, they put forth all the effort they could, and the offense did not bail them out. That's all I kept thinking. All throughout that last drive, that's all I kept thinking. I was like, man, the offense didn't bail them out. Defense has run out of gas. They've done all they could do.
I just want to know where my boy Cole Holcomb is because I've not seen much work out of him over this past season. So it looks like he's been a little bit banged up. But at the same time, because he's on the physically unable to perform list, as I just saw. But I'll be glad when I can see Cole Holcomb back out there.
Yeah. But shout out to the Steelers. Good start, which is rare that we ever say that. Because normally they start slow and they pick it up when it's November. But 4-2, does that mean that they actually have a really good record this year? Well, we shall see. Now, before we get to another game on the slate that my partner sees, let's go to Charlotte really fast. Speaking of bowling shoe ugly. No, speaking of the Carolina Panthers, they hosted their arch rival Atlanta Falcons. Take those Carolina blue uniforms and burn them. Anyway, 38-20 was the final score. Kirk Cousins followed up that 500-yard performance He had to be what they needed him to be, which that's what you should be as a quarterback. 19 of 30, 225 yards to the touchdown. He also had 4 carries for minus or negative 5 yards. But the big story for them was their running game. Tyler Algier, 18 carries, 105 yards to the touchdown with a reception and 3 yards. Bijan Robinson, 15 carries, 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. 3 receptions for 10 yards for him. And of course, they combined with maybe a couple of runs here for a couple of yards there for 198 rushing yards on the ground. On defense, Clark Phillips III and A.J. Terrell each had a pick. Younghoe Koo, he gave you 3 field goals with his leg on 3 attempts. And the Red Cannon, Andy Dalton for the Panthers. 26 of 38, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 gimmies. 2 INTs. He also had 3 carries of 21 yards. And Chuba Hubbard, 18 carries, 92 yards, 5 receptions for 11 yards. So Dave Tepper, I guess it is not Bryce Young. Your team sucks. Your thoughts on the Falcons beating down the Panthers?
You guys want to hear a fucking story?
This team absolutely sucks. Is that a total?
Surprise, motherfucker.
I'm talking about the Carolina Panthers. You absolutely suck. You totally need to
Stop it. Get some help.
now.
Let me talk to you.
I hate watching you play. I really hate watching you play. I got to say this. I got to love the NFL app. Because when you have the NFL app, you can pay like, $14.99 a month. And at that point, you can watch all the highlights from every game. You can watch out-of-market games. You could be on the go and do things. And after the Commanders and Ravens game yesterday, I decided to go for a little run and run and do some errands yesterday. And I was listening to certain highlights. You weren't even good enough for me to watch, okay? You were one of the 3 teams that while I did errands yesterday, I listened to. I didn't even watch you. Like I'm watching the camera right now. I just listened to you. And you can just listen to how bad you suck, okay? I'm not even talking about when you have the announcers. Just when you hear downset hike, okay? You suck. Just in your cadence. Your cadence sucks. The Red Rockets sucked with the cadence. You suck as a defense. And even special teams. The way you kick the ball sucks. Just listening to it. So, yes.
Wow.
Kick the ball, you suck. Throw the ball, you suck. The way you run, the sound of you running sucks. The way you defend sucks. And just the way your owner looks. The way he looks at the field, when they zoom in on his face, even his nose sucks. So looking at everything about this offense, you totally suck because everything about the Panthers has completely.
Oh my gosh.
Looking at the Panthers, this is their chance of having a great team by the end of the year. Welcome to Craptown.
Oh Lord, I already knew when you pulled. Where is it? Oh gosh. Oh Lord. Oh gosh, where the heck is that doggone thing? Oh Lord, when you pulled Cody Rhodes out, you went with the.
You guys want to hear a fucking story?
I knew I was in for an epic rant. You said the way they run sucks. Oh my gosh. Now that is bad when you actually can criticize the way a team calls. Snaps sucks. The owner's the owner's nose sucks. Well, the way Dave Tepper actually runs the team, it does suck. But yeah. And yes, I totally agree with you. The Panthers will rebound and have a wonderful season. Yes.
It had been a while since we clicked that button, so I figured it was time.
Oh yeah, and also I really believe the Panthers will rebound. They will become the NFC South champs for 2024.
That was a lie.
Lord have mercy. Yeah, they dropped to 1-5. Even though yes, the Bucks also are 4-2, the Falcons are 4-2, and they lead the division thanks to their win against the Bucks a couple of Thursdays ago. But yes, thank you for beating down the Panthers as you should have. Let me see, which way should I go first with this? Oh yeah, we're gonna get to how bowling shoe ugly, how dumpster pelican worthy, and how the following game is, because it was most certainly in fact, this game was so bad, you're going to have this on loop. The Dallas Cowboys did not even show up on the field. Basically, the Detroit Lions ran a scrimmage at AT&T Stadium. 47-9 was the final score. 47-9. Oh, Lord. Jared Goff. Still pretty good. I mean, he was efficient the last time we saw him play, and he was actually really good here. 18-25, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also had 3 carries of 5 yards. And what warms my heart is what the Lions do with the running game. David Montgomery, 12 carries, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns with a reception, no yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 12 carries for 63 yards. He also had 3 receptions for 28 yards. Those two helped the Lions establish the presence of 184 yards on the ground. Wonderful performance by Montgomery and Gibbs. Ali McNeil on defense, he had 3 quarterback hits and 2 sacks. Kirby Joseph, he had a pick. And Brian Branch, he had 5 solo tackles, 2 tackles for losses, 3 QB hits, and 2 INTs. One of them almost was a pick 6. The Lions defense, they had not just 3 interceptions, but they also had 2 fumble recoveries as well. Hold on. I feel naked doing this, and I feel wrong not doing this. Let's just do this right. Because this was horrible. This is just so bad. So bad. Goodness gracious. You should be ashamed of yourselves, Cowboys. So the defense of the Lions, 2 fumble recoveries and 3 picks. Jake Bates, he had 4 field goals on the day. It is great to see you from UFL to NFL doing your thing, and you're showing that you are a stud kicker. So I'm happy to see you do your thing, Jake. But I'm not happy to see what Dak Prescott did. 17-33, 178 yards, 2 INTs, 1 carry for 1 yard. Oh, yeah, and the fool that said that this game yesterday was going to be a reason as to why Dak Prescott is the best QB in the game today. Your whack take is brought to you by the letter. All right, let's get to the 2 stars of the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb, 7 receptions, 89 yards. He also had a carry for 2 yards. And Brandon Aubrey, 3 of 3 field goals. He had a long of 50 yards. And Brandon Aubrey is the reason, Cowboys fan, you actually could say that you didn't get shut out. Ooh. Your thoughts on this absolute dumpster fire of a game?
The real star of the game was...
Delete!
That was for you, Ryan McCarthy. Now back to this game right here. Yes. Yes, there you go with the comment. But the real star of the game was the Dallas Cowboys fans, because you came into this game multiple ones. I heard last week we gonna bounce back on Detroit because they had a bye week last week. They gonna be out of sorts. They gonna be tired. How you gonna be tired when you get a week off? That was one of the dumbest things I heard last week was they gonna be tired. No, they're not gonna be tired. They're gonna be ready to rock and roll. They were refreshed. The one big thing that was sad to see in this game was Aidan Hutchinson going down.
Yes.
And that was our thumbnail for the day.
Yeah.
Another great thumbnail from the legend there of Cole. But right here, when it comes to this is a big blow for them for the rest of this year because more than likely he's going to be out for the rest of the season because of the recovery time from that. It's not like an Achilles. Not like I don't think there's any type of experimental things they can do to get him back, even if they make a run, in the playoffs. I don't think by Super Bowl they're going to be able to get him back out there. It would be a miraculous if they did, but for the way for this team to bounce back from that, because that happened early on in the game. I think it was right at the beginning of the second half, if I remember right.
It was like like about
halftime.
It was like about 5 minutes in the third quarter.
Because this is another game that I was listening to highlights, and this is another one that I pulled up because the game it was so beyond reachable at that point. That was another thing that I was like, I'm going to go out and run some errands and have this and listen on audio. So at that point, looking at this game for what it was, definitely moves have to be made for the Cowboys. I would say the Cowboys are a little bit closer to needing to fire Mike McCarthy now than the Eagles are to fire Nick Sirianni, because there have been Nick Sirianni and the Eagles have gone to the Super Bowl. They lost, but they went to the Super Bowl together. Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys have been nowhere close to the Super Bowl in the 10 year of him being the head coach. The Dallas Cowboys haven't been anywhere close to the Super Bowl since 1996 to begin with. So looking at this for what it is, the Cowboys need to make some moves. And if they don't fire Mike McCarthy after this season, it was a total waste. And if whether you want to bring in the hoodie or Mike Vrabel or somebody else with better clout that's going to have a better handle on this team to be able to assert dominance in certain ways, because it's not being done. I think Mike McCarthy's being too passive with not only how he's handling his staff and his players, but managing his play calling, because you might need a Nathaniel Hackett yourself and take the play calling duties away from yourself for the offense, because it is not looking good for you, whether it's offense, defense, whatever the case may be that you've got your hands tied into. You need to focus more on being a head coach and have your coaches do their jobs if they are good enough to do so. But you're the one who put those coaches in place.
That's
so
right.
They should be good enough to do their job, and it's not appearing that way. 3-3 is a decent record. Okay. For you to be where you're at, considering the type of losses that you have had in those 3 losses, is pretty miraculous. But losing a game like this, it's understandable to lose a game to the Detroit Lions because of what they've built themselves to be over the past few years. But to lose it in that manner, to lose it to where you only put up 3 field goals on a day, the fact that you're paying Dak Prescott the amount of money that you're paying him, he has 178 yards and 2 interceptions. If you're paying a quarterback the type of money that you're paying him like Dak Prescott is receiving, you should be able to read defensive coverages. You should be able to call all these things instead of the here we go, sound like you're going to here we go yourself, but you can't read a defensive coverage. So looking at it for what it is, this team is just as bad as the Giants, in my opinion. Their record doesn't say it, but for someone to have the audacity to yell, here we go, but you can't read when a rush is coming in, you are absolutely terrible, and you deserve to have fans like this.
Delete. Acknowledge me.
I acknowledge you suck. I acknowledge that you suck.
Oh my gosh. Ain't nobody calling you, texting you, asking you, DMing you why the Cowboys suck. Nobody cares. Yes, I agree with you, Playmaker. I totally agree with you. He says snowflake of the week, Dallas Cowboys. And you meant to say Dustin Pelicans number. Oh yeah, Dustin Pelicans number 2. The Dallas Cowboys. Why? He says because the Detroit Lions were being disrespectful and claiming the Cowboys. They were running plays for the offensive linemen, just disrespectful. Well, it didn't count. I mean, because another offensive lineman happened to be illegally downfield, so it didn't matter. But I know this. Cowboys fan, you better not say this at all for the next 2 months.
This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation.
You ain't them boys. You ain't America's team, and you ain't going to win the Super Bowl for the 29th consecutive season. But be happy that you're still in the running for the NFC East crown.
But if you drive up to the gas station, you run into Tam, you say the exact same thing. He's going to come back at you with this.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, to the no, no.
And then when you have to evaluate the level of ignorance by one Tam, all you can say is, welcome to stupidity.
Yeah. But cheer up, Cowboys fan. The NFC East is still within reach. I mean, you still have to play the Eagles twice. You still have to play the Commanders twice. And you've already have one Giants win in tow. You have them come to your building the next time you play them. So it is there. Your holy grail is within reach. Don't reach for the Larry O'Brien. I mean, don't reach for the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Don't reach for the George Halas Trophy. Reach for that NFC East crown. But if you play like you did yesterday, you ain't getting that either. But yes, you fall to 3-3, Cowboys fan. Be happy because you at least have, if I'm mistaken, 3 road wins. You just have 0 home wins. And you were undefeated last year at home, too. How funny. Anyway, they fall to 3-3. The rusty Lions, they go to 4-1. And when we say a team needs to look that way, when I say that I want my Texans to look that way, that's how I want them to look. Because when they play to their potential, that's how they should look. So congratulations, Lions. Y'all did your thing. Best performance of the week by far.
Makes you wonder if by this point in the day, after seeing that game, if Bill Belichick and his coaching staff got on a group call with Jerry Jones and said this.
What's that?
Can we have a job now?
Oh, Lord. but yes, oh, Lord. But definitely prayers to Aidan Hutchinson and his family. I hate the fact that you went down the way you did, Aidan. I hope the surgery went well, because I heard that you immediately went in and got surgery. I'm glad that happened. I know there's not even a question he's out for the year, so it's not even a debate on that. But we hope that you heal. We hope you get back on the field, because you were having a defensive player of the year type of game. I mean, type of year. And
this team is still an NFC Super Bowl favorite.
Oh, yeah,
representing the NFC. So for him to not be able to be part of that journey, it sucks even more. When you're on a team that's that good. Yeah. And if they don't make it, they could argue that this was one of the decisive factors, and we're not even halfway through the year yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So that sucks. But our prayers are with you, Aidan. You're an awesome player. And we as football fans will miss you doing what you do and just giving offensive linemen and quarterbacks the blues. But your team, a lot with your efforts, they are now 4-1. They are within the thick and the hunt of being in the NFC North championship race. So hopefully things will go well for your team. But again, best performance of the week by far goes to Detroit Lions. There isn't a question about that in my mind whatsoever. And to the heck, I ain't even gonna play it. Why on earth did you have the Bengals? Oh, that's right. The Giants were one of the teams, and you have to basically do the Deshaun Watson to the New York fan base. Got it. Like you're doing next week with the Jets. Goodness gracious. Okay, I'm sorry. Soapbox over. Sunday night game. Giants hosted the Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals, they beat the Giants 17-7. The game was like that. I'll put it this way. I went and took a shower in the third quarter. I came back out the bathroom. The game was far over. That's how entertained I was in that game. Joe Burrow, 19-28, 208 yards, 4 carries for 55 yards, and a 47-yard touchdown run, which was probably the most exciting part of the game. And that happened on the opening drive of the game. Unless you wanted to have them talk about his frosted hair. Anyway, on defense, Trey Hendrickson, 2 tackles for losses, 3 quarterback hits and 2 sacks. Jermaine Pratt, he had a pick of Daniel Jones. Danny Wooden Nickel, 22 of 41, 205 yards, and that interception. He also had 11 carries for 56 yards. Tyrone Tracy didn't do much on the ground. 50 yards on 17 carries with a touchdown, but he did show up on the receiving end, 6 receptions for 57 yards. So he had over 100 yards total offense. Azeez Ojulari, 3 tackles for losses, 2 quarterback hits, and 2 sacks. And the Giants defense, they were active. I'll give them credit. 7 QB hits and 4 sacks to Joe Burrow. Your thoughts on this absolute dumpster fire of a game for Sunday night?
This game had absolutely no business being on Sunday Night Football, as I messaged you yesterday. That game was absolutely terrible. The first thing I want to address is that we have our dude in the comments. One of my top 5 favorite buttons to click of all time. That is one of my top 5 favorite buttons I've ever clicked of all time. You got L, you got Tam, and you got Vicola. Okay, it's a toss up for the other 2 because there are a lot of other great buttons that we have. Okay? But that is one of my favorite buttons. All right, now back on track. This game absolutely sucked. I did not enjoy any bit of it. I spent more time preparing for Total Football Talk Extra, this, and the Commander's Gridiron Report than I did of actually paying attention to that game. So, and making promos, like for the promo that we have for this episode 59 today. So, I did not enjoy this game whatsoever. Everybody from both teams should be fired. That's how I felt with watching this game. It was not fun at all watching it. The Bengals, it's very depressing watching them because before this year, we were thinking that they would be one of these 4-2 teams, potentially 3-3 at this point.
Right.
Right. The fact that they're 2-4 now is good for them to get back to this point, but the Giants, they need a complete overhaul. Whether it's Dayball, the quarterback, and more. Letting Saquon go, the GM should be fired as well. There's a lot of moves that need to be going on with the Giants, more so with the Bengals. The Bengals might need a new head coach by the end of this year if they don't turn things around. Yes, we know that they are historically known for slow starts, but this is a pretty bad one to be 2-4 at this point. Very hard to overcome a 2-4 start and get to the playoffs with a 17 game. Yes, especially with the division they're in. And you're looking at what the Ravens are doing. It's a very, very tough on them. With the 17-game season, it's a little bit easier to do it than it would be with the 16-game season. If it was 16 games and you only had 10 left, it'd be tough to do that. It's not quite as bad when you have an extra game in there because that does make it a decisive factor towards the end once you're getting towards wild card teams and seeding and so on and so forth. So overall, it's not as bad as what it could be, but at the same time, you're digging yourself a little bit of a hole that's getting hard to get out of. The Giants have no hopes of making the playoffs this year. They deserve every bit of how bad they're playing, and it all starts from their GM. It's not like I'm not going to blame this more on the fan base like I would be for the Cowboys. This is more so the mismanagement of the team, and it's been like this for Probably, I'd say since their last Super Bowl win. Like for the past 10 years, they've dropped the ball in multiple areas when it comes to the mismanagement of this team, and it's not getting any better. They need to turn things around fast if they want to if they want to retain the fan base that they do have.
Oh boy. Giants are dumpster fires. I mean, they are. And I mean, all the way around. The fact that they actually thought that Daniel Jones was the guy that was going to lead their team. He was going to be the guy that was going to replace Eli Manning. I was like, okay, you must be seeing something that many of us did not. And here we are a few years later, and we're still saying you must be seeing something we are not seeing, because he is just not that guy. And unfortunately, Daboll is in such a bad shape and bad position because he is really good, bright offensive mind, but you wouldn't know it by how this team operates. And the moves they have made in the front office has just been ridiculous. Yeah. And on the Bengals side, I agree with you. The Zach Taylor slow starts need to stop. And you're in the AFC North, probably the toughest division to win. And the other three teams, although you're in company with the Browns, you're supposed to be better than they are. You're supposed to be mentally stronger than they are, but you're proving not to be, which that's dangerous. And you have a team of the Steelers that will grind out every game, and you got the Ravens who will just run you out the building. Oh, you already know that because you lost to them in your own home. Oh, yeah, that's right. You already know that. But yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. Oh, Mr. Vlock. Yeah, we already did that. But if you want us to do it again, I mean, we can oblige. That's no problem.
No, please don't. Please don't. Please move forward. Go back and watch the show. We're an hour and a half in.
That's right. But warn your Cowboys fan this.
This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation.
Them say that not again for the rest of this year. Both teams on Sunday night are now 2-4. Sad state of affairs. And now, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for Upset of the Week. And you'll be surprised at the game that was chosen. That's right. It was this one. Now, I know you're saying, Cole, wait a minute. The Jaguars are horrible. How the heck is this an upset? The Jaguars were actually favored to win the game. Yes, they were favored to win the game. They were playing against the Bears. Unfortunately, the 35-16 victory said otherwise. Caleb Williams played his best game as a pro thus far, 23-29, 226 yards. He had 4 touchdowns. He did throw for a pick. He also had 4 carries and 56 yards on the ground. DeAndre Swift, they actually decided to go with him. 17 carries, 91 yards on a touchdown. He also had 4 receptions, 28 yards. The Bears offense, they actually amassed 152 yards on the ground. So they actually established the run pretty well. Defense, you had Josh Blackwell with a pick. And you had many different Bears contributing to 4 sacks of Trevor Lawrence, who was 23-35, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He also carried the ball 4 times for 17 yards. Evan Ingram, 10 receptions, 102 yards, and on defense you had Andre Sisco, not the drink, the player. He had a pick. Your thoughts on the Bears dismantling the Jaguars in London?
I don't think it's that hard to do that against the Jaguars at this point. Like, if we would have had some better competition in some of the other games, this wouldn't even deserve to be anywhere close towards it. But because of how the Bears have gotten off to a little bit of a slow start, based on how Caleb Williams, we needed to see this type of performance out of him for several weeks coming into this. That's the reason why it's here. And Caleb Williams definitely is starting to show why he was the number 1 overall pick. because people have been saying for the past several weeks that Jaden Daniels, definitely the number one quarterback out of the draft so far, which has me even more hyped for the game I'll be at in 13 days when I see the number 1 and number 2 overall picks battle each other out in Landover, Maryland, when the Bears play the Commanders week 8. So definitely gets me more excited for that matchup. Makes me think it might be even a little bit more competitive than what I was anticipating to begin with, because you got to look at how bad the defense is for the Jags. Jags overall on offense and defense are not what we thought that they could be based on the way they played a couple years ago. They are not the same team that they were, the caliber. It's time for Doug Peterson to potentially maybe take a road to somewhere else, maybe go back to being an offensive coordinator for a little bit and learning some different things within play calling and how to be an overall head coach, because it's not working out. His vision is not working out for the Jags. It could be part of the management there too, because we've heard of many things about the Khan family and how they've mismanaged the Jaguars since they become owners of the team. Decent job as wrestling promoters, not that great at NFL ownership. Now, putting all that into perspective, they have a long way to go. The Bears, I need to see more wins like this, or at least them playing to this caliber against really good teams. But I can't get excited about a win like this for the Bears because of the type of team that they had to do it against. Stack up some more wins and play this good when you play the Commanders in 13 days, and I'll start giving you a little bit more respect. But it's still definitely good to get Caleb Williams back on track after some production like this in a game.
I 100% agree with you. And yes, playmaker. Yeah, the Jaguars were favored by 1.5. Yeah, someone needs to be slapped. Is that what you're saying? I agree. Look, I'm glad that Caleb Williams is actually able to be efficient in any capacity in his rookie season. Yeah, would it be better if we get a chance to see him do this against the Vikings, which we will see this, the Packers, which we will see, and the Lions, which we will see? Yeah, obviously. But it's good that he actually knows how to be accurate in the pros against an NFL team. Now he has the next step to make. The Bears themselves have the next step to make because they need to rely on DeAndre Swift just a little bit more than they have. I mean, he's been persona non grata, and he needs to run the ball more, and he helps the defense out. And the defense is not so bad. I think that's something that, for some reason, that's not getting into their heads. It's like they need to pass the ball over the place and basically just let the defense just be thrown to the wolves. But the Bears, they go in the bye 4-2. The Jaguars 1-5. Oh my gosh, they are horrible. They are absolutely atrocious. Whew, man. Now it is time for the game of the week, and I'm so glad we are here because it really was the game that I was looking forward to all week. The Commanders, they took a trip 45 miles north up to Baltimore to play the Ravens. The Ravens had somewhere they had control of the game, but the Commanders showed fight. But they fell short. Final score, the Ravens 30, Commanders 23. Lamar Jackson, 20 of 26, 323 yards, a touchdown and a pick, 11 carries for 40 yards. I almost want to frame that and send that to him and say, I want you to do this every game. Derrick Henry, 24 carries, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That Ravens offense, they amassed 176 yards on the ground. And that's the one thing that they will do. They will run. And I love that about them. Zay Flowers, 9 receptions, 132 yards. He also had a carry for 2 yards. It's actually good to see Lamar Jackson not fully rely so hard on Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Justin Tucker, he gave you 3 of 3 field goals. Jaden Daniels, let me tip my cap to that young man. 24-35, 269 yards, 2 touchdowns, along with 6 carries of 22 yards. He took care of the ball again. I love that about him. Dante Fowler on defense, he gave you 4 solo tackles, 3 tackles for losses, 2 quarterback hits, and 2 sacks. Mike Sainristil, gave you a pick. And Austin Seibert, 3 of 4 field goals, but he gave you a long of 55. All right, Commanders Gridiron Report, man. Your thoughts on this game, which to me was easily the game of the week?
This game absolutely was the game of the week. I'm definitely glad that we finally have a chance to talk about the Commanders in this type of light, because through 58 previous episodes, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe we've had the Commanders in a game of the week scenario since starting this show last year. I could be wrong, but I don't think we have, because I mean, even out of their 4 wins they had last year, they were kind of washed wins. We'll have to go back and look. But with all that being said, I'm glad we were able to do it for the 60th episode. That was nice. But anyway, but now when it comes to this team, there are some things that I did say last week when predicting the Ravens to win. And I predicted them to win on this show. I predicted them to win on the Commanders Gridiron Report. I chopped out a reel, a short that went on YouTube. It really took off on TikTok, but it took off decently on YouTube and on Instagram, where I've had some success on Instagram this year as well. But on TikTok, I was actually getting a lot of shade thrown my way for what I said when saying that, the Ravens were pretty much going to win, and saying that they haven't beaten a team with a winning record yet, and they still haven't. What I said last week came into fruition, and it all started with the fact that the Baltimore Ravens have a really good rush defense. The Commanders have still a very suspect secondary, and they were exposed with that against Lamar Jackson with the way he was making some deep passes in this game on Sunday. So the Commanders still need to make some moves this offseason with their secondary, for one. I like their defensive front. I like their linebackers.
I do too.
I like their quarterback move they made this past offseason. I like their wideouts, but they need a bit of a better running game, and they need another offensive lineman or two still. They're doing okay. They're in a much better shape that they were, but Nick Algoretti can't do it all, even though he is a one-man wrecking crew in many ways. But the Commanders need another offensive lineman or two. They need somebody else that's a little bit better than Austin Eckler back there as the running back too. He does okay in flashes, but when you play against real competition, they shut him down. When your leading rusher is your quarterback, that is an issue to me. And again, Jaden Daniels was the leading rusher, outside of his 6 carries for 22 yards between Eckler, McNichols, and McLaurin, because Brian Robinson Jr. was out due to injury this weekend. But outside of Jaden Daniels, the rest of the 3 rushers had 12 attempts, 12 carries for 30 yards. That's not going to get it done. And considering that when you add your quarterback stats in there, it's an additional, it makes it to 18 carries for 52 yards. That's still not efficient enough. So the reason why the Commanders didn't win was because they couldn't establish a run. They did a really good job of not turning the ball over. The receivers did a great job. Zach Ertz turned back the clock a little bit with the production that he did in this game a little bit. Jaden Daniels still, again, shows why he is the number 1 rookie so far from this past draft, but still deserves to be in the consideration, or at least not in the consideration, but the conversation for an MVP candidate. Okay. Now, if he continues to play like this throughout the rest of this year, but through 6 weeks, definitely deserves to hear it right here and now. Definitely great on him for not turning the ball over, but until the Commanders make some improvements in their secondary on defense, until they get another piece or two on their offensive line, and until they can establish the run a little bit better outside of their quarterback, they're going to have close games like this that they lose against the Ravens. But it is also a big confidence boost when you think of how this team was last year. You only had 4 wins all of last year. You were on a 4-game winning streak before this loss. You're still 4-2. You still have a really good chance of beating this dumpster Pelican Panthers team this upcoming weekend and being 5-2. Okay. There's still a lot more wins you could potentially get this year. If you're a Commanders fan, you still have to be excited about the production you're getting out of this team, but you still have a long way to go. You've had a long tail of woe for several years now, but you're not quite out of the woods yet. Enjoy the wins as they come. Tough games like this, competitive through and through, even till the end. It was definitely great to watch, but it also is a reminder that there's still more moves to make before the crackheads that are out there getting too excited saying, we're going to the Super Bowl. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. It's okay. Not this year, but in the next 5 years, if all these pieces they brought in stay healthy and they continue to build on it, I wouldn't not be surprised if we see them in the Super Bowl, if not win one within the next 5 years.
I am glad you actually said, with the criticisms, with that being said, this should be something to hang their hat on as a motivating factor and as a good thing. Because remember what I said to you before the season started. I said I think you may have to, and I think you prepared for it. But I was actually saying it toward Commanders fan in general. So you may have to manage expectations and just look at the season through the light and the lens of how well Jaden Daniels performs rather than how the team performs. And that's and in looking at it through that lens, if I was a Commanders fan, I'd say, yep, the Ravens are a better team. The fact that we actually walked away with a 7-point loss in Baltimore, I'm actually impressed by that to a degree. And that Jaden Daniels actually played a pretty good game. Not the best game, but he had played a pretty good game. And this is only his 6th NFL start. I like that. But yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think they are missing a couple pieces on the offensive line. I think the secondary needs to be improved too. Just from an outsider seeing things, I'm like, okay, the rest of the team I actually like seeing. As far as the Ravens are concerned, I would want to shave maybe a couple of those carries off of Jackson's total, but I do like the fact that he wants to show that he can be efficient and do damage in the pocket. I like that. And I also like the fact that he is usurping, wanting to dominate, running the ball. And he says, okay, I got a horse behind me. I can ride him. And everyone else can ride him too. And we can actually have this guy take us to the Super Bowl. And I think the sooner he gets that thought process in him and he actually rides that wave, the more dangerous this team will be. And it looks like they're hitting their stride, because once I think he started to realize it, they've been averaging 30, 31, 32 points a game. So yeah, kudos to both teams. Both teams are 4-2. The Ravens improved to 4-2. The Commanders fall to 4-2. But kudos to both of you, because the Beltway area, y'all have two good teams. Y'all should be proud of both of them. I know I am, and I don't even live in the area, and I don't root for either team. And that is this week's Game of the Week, and that concludes this week's opening drive. When we come back, we'll award the Dog of the Week, or the Grand Champ.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989 on 2. Ready? Hey!
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this. Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy, and now begins a future one of matrimony or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. Hey, Eagles fan, join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast, every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you, you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason.
Get him! Oh, yeah. Where are my dogs at? Welcome back to Total Football Talk, and it is now time to award our grand champ this week. And Drew, the floor is yours, sir.
You know, looking at this, I've got to give love to the Detroit Lions for what they did what they did to the Cowboys. I'm going to give it to the entire Detroit Lions offense, between their offensive line, their quarterback, Jared Goff, what he did, 18 to 25, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns. Montgomery had 80 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs, 12 carries for 63 yards, still helping establish the run right there. I mean, between the two of them, 184 yards in total rushing yards for their offense. Their defense did a great job as well, but you got to look at the amount of points that were put up. They were getting their offensive linemen into the action with receiving touchdowns. I mean, they were spreading the ball around. Overall, this Lions team, to me, is still the favorite to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, even with the loss of Aidan Hutchinson. It's going to be tough, and these games are not going to be blowouts like this past game without him. But because of what they put up on the offensive side, definitely very, very strong for the Detroit Lions, and that is why the entire offense for them is my dog of the week.
I saw that game from opening kick to the final gun. I'm not arguing that point at all. I agree with you, man. Yeah, they were that impressive. The whole offense was that impressive. Now, my partner's going in the same direction I was going, but I'm not going to award a whole team. I'm going to award the Tampa Bay Buccaneers running game. Sean Tucker getting over 100 yards. Bucky Irving getting over 80. And both of them combining for, what was that, 215 on the ground by themselves. And then, yeah, even Baker Mayfield, yes, you threw 3 picks, but you at least, you almost contributed 30 yards on the ground yourself. I don't know if y'all realize how hard it is to run for over 200 yards on an NFL defense. This team ran for 277 yards against an NFL defense. Teams, they would love to split that in two and have 134 or 133 yards one game and 134 yards the next. They basically had 2 decent games worth of rushing yards in one. And so kudos to the Bucks running game. You all were the reason why that 27-24 deficit turned into a 51-27 rout. And we both appreciate what you did, but I have to give you all kudos and credit. Good job, guys. Good job. All right. Well, if no thoughts have been given, let's head on.
Total Football Talk.
right, welcome to Featured Attractions, where we pick 3 of the best games, or I should say 2 of the best games, and we also preview the next Monday night game. But we'll skip that. So we'll preview the 2 of the best games of the upcoming week. So we'll begin with the Fox Sunday game, 1 p.m. kickoff, all times Eastern. The Detroit Lions, we heaped a whole lot of praise in their direction, as we should at 4-1. They will go to the Twin Cities to play against the 5-0 Minnesota Vikings, one of the 2 left undefeated teams, if I'm not mistaken, in the league. We'll start with the Lions. All right, so we see that they have this two-headed monster in the running game between David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. We also see the Vikings defensive front. They seem to be very stubborn in giving up rushing yards. Can the Lions running attack penetrate that stubborn Vikings defensive front? Yeah, I think it's I agree with that. If they can continue that, it's going to be really difficult, but hopefully they will be able to. Go ahead.
So was my mic not on?
It was on, but you sounded muffled.
Yeah. I might have accidentally hit the wrong button. But anyway, at the same time, I asked a question. I said, did we skip over the Monday night game? Because you asked about the Vikings.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So when it comes to the Lions running attack penetrating the stubborn Vikings defensive front, it's going to be a tough one for that, because the defense for the Vikings has been keeping them into the game. When you think of the spotty play by Sam Darnold, yes, he's been efficient, not really turning the ball over, but I believe that Vikings defense has been saving them at times. You look at what happened in the Jets game the previous week, and it came down to that final play by the Stephon Gilmore on defense with that catch in the end and interception. So the defense was going to keep the Vikings in the game here. Looking at it for what it is, I'm going to have to say that the Lions can, but it's not going to be as easy as you would think.
Agreed. I don't think it will be. But I think this is their identity, so now I know they're going to have to attempt doing it. Now, how long they will stay with it, and if they have success at doing it, that's a whole different story. Now, flipping the coin to the other side. Now, we're dealing with, of course, a team that's undefeated. And defensively, that is where they've hung their hat. It's sort of like the NFC version of the Steelers, but they've been a little more successful, and they've actually had a little bit more explosive plays down the field offensively. But I've noticed there has been some inconsistency defensively, where defensively they've been very consistent. Can the Vikings offense consistently raise their level of play to match what their defense does?
That's another good question, but at the same time, I don't know. That's a question that is very tough to answer. Or only time will tell. We shall see if that happens.
Okay. All right. So in this a battle of AFC North Titans for this year, who do you have?
This game right here, I think the Lions are going to be able to upset the Vikings' hopes of going undefeated this year. The Vikings fall to 5-1, Lions improved to 5-1, and that's what I have.
Okay, so has the Vikings going from the undefeated. I think I might do the same because the Vikings offensively, to me, I think that's where I'm seeing where they could be gotten. And then Lions defense is no slouch. And I think if they can just compete the way they have the rest of this year, I think the Vikings will have a little trouble executing against them offensively. All right, the Fox Sunday evening game, 4:25 kickoff. The Chiefs they're going to Santa Clara to play against 49ers. Yes, Super Bowl 58 rematch. Chiefs are 5-0. The 49ers are 3-3. All right. So the Chiefs, we know them for being explosive on offense. Andy Reid is this bright offensive mind. Patrick Mahomes is known as the quarterback of this generation. Travis Kelce is known as the tight end of this generation. And now they have nice pieces like Xavier Worthy to go along with them. And Isaiah Pacheco, when he went down, was the main cog on the running tip. And now you got Kareem Hunt, who's back on the team, who seems to actually have some sort of presence. However, this team has gotten to 5-0 more defensively than offensively. When will the Chiefs defense get more credit for their team's overall success?
I mean, we've been giving it to them all season long. It's just the main networks aren't really doing as much of a good job at giving them the credit they're due, because the offense has been struggling at certain points. I wouldn't say struggling overall, more so inconsistent, just because they need a little bit more work in some ways than others. But the defense is definitely what's carried them to the 5-0 record so far.
Yeah, there's no question about that. With Bolton and to me, the best player in their team, Chris Jones. Yeah, there's no reason why they don't get more love than they get nationwide, but they definitely get it here. On the other side, the 49ers, they seem to, I don't know, they can run the ball and they can stop teams sometimes, but they seem to be really susceptible to the run. Are they missing Dre Greenlaw?
I mean, he does make an impact on the defense, but he isn't the entirety of that defense at the same time. So, I mean, do they miss him? I think in some aspects, but this game's going to definitely be the decisive factor in that.
And for those who don't know, Dre Greenlaw is one of the middle linebackers for the 49ers, and he's considered basically the spark plug of the team and the soul of it. All right, so between the Chiefs and the 49ers, who do you have going? Chiefs 6-0 or the 49ers 4-3?
You know, the Chiefs are going to have to lose a game at some point.
I agree.
But I disagree with Dre Greenlaw being the spark of the team. I think that the real spark of the team is C-Mac, because their offense hasn't been as explosive without him. He might be the spark of the defense, but since C-Mac has come over there, you could definitely see a little bit more excitement when they play. You can argue that Brock Purdy wouldn't be what he is without somebody like C-Mac on that team. I think that him not being here has made more of an impact on this team throughout this season so far. And with that being said, that's why they are where they are at this point at 3-3. Not so much on Greenlaw. Has everything to do with their running game. Mason has been able to be good at certain points, but he hasn't been as consistent as C-Mac is. So he is the spark to this team, in my opinion. When it comes to this game right here, the Chiefs got to lose at some point. They will not be undefeated, but it's not happening this week. They're going to prove it again why they won the Super Bowl against the 49ers. They're going to improve to 6-0. It's going to be on the shoulders of the defense. Mahomes is going to do what he needs to do in the times where he needs to do it. And Kelce will probably step up in moments where he's been a little inconsistent because he's been playing the role of a decoy at certain points throughout this season, but also age is starting to catch up to him a little bit when you think about the fact that he is 35 years old. Chiefs win this game, but it's going to be close.
Okay. All right. And real quickly, tonight's game between the Bills and the Jets, who do you have going in this game?
When it comes to this game right here, the Bills definitely need to rebound with the hits they've taken here recently. But I'm going to buy into the hype that the firing of the head coach and Robert Saleh is going to be the spark that this offense needs, because he's a defensive-minded head coach, and he has been kind of overstepping his bounds when it comes to certain things within the offense. Now the offense has total freedom, and the defense does as well. This team's going to be able to showcase what they truly are on paper, and I think they're going to be able to get this win at home against the Bills tonight.
Yeah. Okay. I do see the Chiefs going to 6-0, and I definitely see the Jets making that, extending that losing streak the Bills have had on the road to 3. You at home or in the chat, drop who you believe is going to be the victors of these games, and we'd be interested to see what you select. But speaking of selections, I think we got to select something else, and we should do that right now.
Total Football Talk.
Oh, yeah, I know it's a little colder outside, but it's not quite snowing yet. Unfortunately, there are some people who are contributing to evaporating behavior, if you know what I mean. Snowflake of the week is here. And Drew, who is your snowflake of this week?
I don't think it's any question that I was going to go with this person, considering when I was comparing him to a pair of a clothing line earlier today. I'm going to go with Will Levis. Malik Willis did better than you as the quarterback for the Titans. You mustered up 95 passing yards on the day. Absolutely terrible. Yeah, you had a touchdown, but you threw an interception. You had 11 incompletions. You did carry the ball 3 times for 15 yards, but you're a quarterback. That's what you get paid to do. You're getting paid handsomely. You're not getting paid like Deshaun Watson. You're not completely stealing money from your team. But at the same time, when you're having 95 yards in a game, you're stealing production from your offense. So you could have won this game had you been able to muster up another 30 or 40 yards in this, total, because you still found a way to lose this game, losing by 3 points. And you were going against a backup that many teams gave up on a long time ago in Joe Flacco. And he's still finding a way to get starts in this league and finding a way to get wins, most importantly. And doing it against a team like you, the Titans, with a quarterback that's throwing for 95 yards, you sure is expletive making it look easy. So right here and now, Will Levis is my snowflake of the week. Snowflake of the week for that reason alone, because you cannot play your job very well.
But he's making me very happy.
Yes. But the average football fan who likes to see a good game, even if their team isn't playing, I still want to see the Titans lose, but at least have a little bit more action out of your quarterback. And until they get a better quarterback in there, which they have been missing and dropping the ball at the quarterback position when it comes to drafts and moves since they were the Oilers and they brought in Steve McNair. Okay, that's the last time they drafted a really good quarterback. They've had some success here and there with certain other quarterbacks. And you look at what Tannehill did, but he was a flash in the pan and was luck. But the last time they drafted a really good quarterback was 30 years ago or so when they brought Steve McNair in, and it was a different franchise that happened to turn into the Titans. So the curse of, you had the curse of the great Bambino in baseball with the Boston Red Sox. For the Titans, this could be the curse of the move from Houston, because even though they did get to the Super Bowl with McNair in the late 90s, it still ended in a heartbreak, and this whole franchise has been a heartbreak to watch for the past 30 years.
Yeah, we could just become best friends. Oh, that warms my heart. I love that. But yes, I agree with you. And then the last time the Titans have had any type of QB worth of any salt that they drafted, yeah, you got to go 28 years, almost 29 now, with the drafting of Steve McNair. I agree with you. Because Will Evans is not the guy. No. All right. You're probably going to say to me, Cole, why do you select this guy? And the team actually won. You got to understand. So the snowflake I have this week is the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni. Well, wait a minute, Cole. The team won. Yes, I know the team won. What I didn't like was the fact that when the clock ticked down, you saw this mental midget turn to Eagles fan in the stands and was chewing them out. Sort of like the now what? Now say something. What do you got to say now? Egging them on and challenging them. That is the wrong fan base to do that to. I'm sorry. If your team sucks and they boo, they have the right to do it. And there's been ever since, sir, ever since the 49ers went into your building early December, they've had very little to cheer about. They really have. I'm sorry. They had little to cheer about. And I'm saying that as a regular fan. As a Eagles fan, if they even see even a scintilla of you doing horrible, you're gonna catch it. Even in victories, even when your team is leading, you're gonna catch wreck. You've been the team's head coach for a few years. You already know the deal. So now don't bark at the fans. Say, you know what? We're gonna improve on what you all are seeing that we are faulty at doing. We hear you, and we're going to improve it because we want to have you all cheer for us. We don't want you to boo us. We hear those boos. We want to allay them, not come at me now with them. What you got to say now? No, don't challenge them. No, reward them. They have the right to boo you because they've only seen what 4 wins since that butt whooping that the 49ers gave you in South Philly. Come on, man. You got to do better than that. And your team's still only 3-2. Your team really has not looked all that impressive, save for maybe, I don't know, the second and third quarter of the game you all played in Brazil. I mean, come on, man. You got to do better than that. And I mean way better than that. Dicken up your skin, son. Please. Jeez. We'll be back.
Later, the post game. But coming up next, the 2-minute drill. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated. Creating content magic in the real world.
In a world where chronicles of the past are brought to the streams, whether the content is relatable or completely beyond your realm of life, there is no shadow of a doubt that this show is absolutely full of shenanigans. Get ready for
D. Willie in the evening.
This Sunday at 10:05 p.m. Eastern.
Exclusively on Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign D Willie 87. Go ahead and hit him up on the Cash App and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks. And we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. If you want your Commanders to be rep right, well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Tuesday at 1:05 p.m. Eastern, 12:05 a.m. Central. On the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool.
Where my soldiers, right side, Commanders. Where my soldiers, left side,
Well, welcome back to Total Football Talk with Drew Willingham. I am Cole Johnson, and we are going to give you the best of the rest of Week 7 of the 2024 NFL season. Keep in mind, the Bears and the Cowboys are on buys for this coming week. That's right.
Oh, thank God.
The Bears at 4-2, the Cowboys at 3-3 are having buys this week, so we don't have to worry about those two for the slate of games that's upcoming. But you do have the others that you have to contend with, starting with the Thursday game. We have a Sean Payton going back to his old stomping grounds type of game. The 3 Broncos, they go to play the Saints in the Superdome at 2-4. Prime Video has the game at 8:15 for the open kickoff. Who do you have in this one?
Broncos play against the Saints backup quarterback again. I mean, well, like this past week when I think the Broncos are going to win. It's probably going to be one of our ugliest games of the week, but I just like what they've got going on over there for the future for the Broncos. They need to bring in some more pieces during the offseason, like we talked about earlier. But without Derek Carr at the helm and with some other question marks around that Saints team, I think that they've got a little bit more established with their rookie quarterback in comparison to their backup for the Saints, that being the rookie quarterback of the Broncos. I'm going with the Broncos in this game to win by 3 to 7 points. Not 37, but 3 to 7 points.
I choose the Broncos too. I think it's going to be an ugly game. I agree with you. I think they have the piece that they can build around in Bo Nix. Now they just have to get the pieces, proper pieces to build around them. 100% agree with you. All right. Now we go to the Sunday game and the England game. This actually will be in Wembley Stadium. They haven't played in Wembley yet, but they will be playing in Wembley in this one. 9:30 a.m. kick. NFL Network will carry it. The 1-5 Patriots and the 1-5 Jaguars. Which team will not play as bad as the other?
No matter who wins this game, it's going to be the only way I'll be able to raise my level of interest is if Mac Jones is the starting quarterback for the Jaguars and we see the past starting quarterback of the Patriots versus the current future starting quarterback of the Patriots. Regardless of who wins this game, it doesn't matter because both teams absolutely are not anywhere close to being competitive for this season. If the Patriots win this game decisively, I think Doug Peterson gets fired this week, after this week. Because you got to look at the fact that you have two teams here that are not playing, well at all. One's in a rebuild, which we understand with the Patriots, which this is understandable from them at this point. The Jaguars, there's no excuse for them to be 1-5 at this point when you consider where they were 2 years ago. If the Jags fall to 1-6, Doug Peterson gets fired. And if the Patriots fall to 1-6, the head coach over there in Mayo still has a job. I am going to predict that the Jags win this game because it is at home for them. I mean, no, it's a London game. Is this the London game again?
It's a London game.
So it's another London game for them. All right, so 9:30 a.m. I'm going with the Jags to win this game. Looking at how things have been for them over the past, season or two, it's definitely been heartbreaking to watch. I know it's horrible for my guys, Kyle Nash and Travis Holmes, do the Duval Dive show for Sartoba Media and many other platforms. But I'm going with the Jags to win this game. They'll improve to 2-5. The Patriots fall to 1-6. And that's basically what I have going on for this one.
Well, of course I'm rooting for the Jags. I mean, Patriots, obviously, but the Jaguars should have more in the tank than the Patriots do. I agree with you. I think the Jags should win it. I'm rooting for the Patriots, but I think the Jags should win it. All right, now we get to the Sunday afternoon slate of games. Fox will carry this one between the Seahawks at 3-3 and the NFC South leading Atlanta Falcons at 4-2. Again, 1 p.m. is the kick. Atlanta is the place. Who do you have in this one?
Considering the Seahawks have been very competitive this year and what they've been able to do with other teams, I think they're going to have a hard time with defending the offense of the Falcons because they've been on the come up and have been getting more and more consistent as the season has been going forward. Kirk Cousins, with what he's done here lately, definitely like what I'm seeing, especially with getting these young receivers active early in the games. With that being said, it is also a home game for the Falcons. I feel like they win and improve to 5-2. The The Seahawks will fall to 3-4, but they will be probably one of the best teams in the league that has a losing record at that point. So you got to give them credit where it's due. It will be a close game, I believe. But at the end, regardless of how close it is, the Falcons are going to win this game.
I agree with you. I think the best part about the Falcons, offensively for sure, is you don't know how they're going to come at you. They can dominate on the ground, or they can just throw for 500 yards against you. However they come at you is how they come at you. And it seems like Cousins is so well at feeling out the process. I love how they go about offensively, and it makes it difficult to game plan defensively against them properly. So I have the Falcons as well. All right, the Bills, right now they're 3-2. Of course, they'll have to play that Monday night game, and it will be a different record. They come back home after 3 games on the road. They host the 1-5 Titans. CBS would carry that game. 1 p.m. is the opening kick. Why do you have the Bills?
Yeah, regardless of what happens, in the Monday night game with the Jets, no matter what happens, the Titans are taking the. Will Levis will more than likely throw for under 100 yards in the game. Turn the ball over a couple times, look like an absolute dumpster Pelican. That's how they're going to lose this game. That's how the Bills are going to win. And if the Bills lose this game, Sean McDermott should get fired.
Oh, 100%. If the Bills lose this game, Sean McDermott should lose his job. And I mean, as soon as he walks off the field. But I don't think that's going to happen, because I think
he should get the phone call as he's walking off the field if that happens.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, of course, I'll be seeing this game since I live in Nashville, and I'll be just wanting to see the massacre take place. Also, CBS 1 p.m. kick. The Browns are 1-5. They host their in-state rival, Cincinnati Bengals, at 2-4. Who do you have in this game?
This one's tough. This one's tougher than the other one just because both teams been playing underwhelmingly this year, but you've got a Bengals offense that's been starting to click over the past couple weeks, especially when you look at what they did against the Ravens. You look at the fact that they won this past weekend. They're playing against a Browns defense that's the best part of their team because their offense is absolutely terrible, but the Browns front, you look at what they've got going on there. I like this matchup when you think about the offense going against the defense. When you think about the Browns offense going against the other team's defense, though, I don't like that matchup. That's because the Browns suck on offense. But I think it's going to be close in the fact of the defense of the Browns is going to contain the offense of the Bengals. This will probably be between when you look at the record and you set that aside, one of the more competitive games of the day. I'm going to go with the Bengals to win this game just because of the fact of how bad the Browns offense is. I'm going to have them improve to 3-4, get them closer to 500. The Browns will fall to 1-6 and be one step closer to having the number 1 overall pick next year. And that's just my opinion on this game.
I'm with you on talent disparity and mental capacity disparity. Somehow, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is for Joe Burrow, Cleveland seems to be a house of horrors for him. I don't know what it is. So for that reason, I'm going to pick the Browns. The Bengals should win this game, but somehow, for some reason, even worse than Pittsburgh and worse than Baltimore, he seems to play really bad in Cleveland. I don't know why that's the case, but that's what I'll choose. And go ahead.
I was about to say, I just feel like if the narrative is true with the Bengals, and especially with Joe Burrow under his tenure, they get off to slow starts. But this is around the time of the year where they start to heat up. And if the narrative is going to continue to be that way about this team, and if they're going to have any chance at the playoffs, they have to win this game. If they lose this game, there's no way they're going to be able to finish this year and make the playoffs and only lose potentially one more game and be 11-6 going into the playoffs. Don't see it happen. They've got to win this game, and they will find a way to win this game. I know what you're saying as far as they have trouble winning in Cleveland, but it's time. Just like with Houston this past weekend, they finally
True.
overcame that narrative with winning in Foxborough.
Good point.
If the Bengals have a chance, this is where they establish it.
Oh, I don't disagree with you at all. I think this is the game they need to have. They need to have it, and I want to see them have it. And they have the mentality and the talent to do it. So I don't disagree with you there. I just want them to show. At least Burrow. I want Burrow to show me that they can overcome that. But yes, I do agree with you. Of course, the game that I'm interested in, and I tried to not homer pick this. The Packers are 4-2. CBS 1 p.m. will have the kick. They host the Texans at 5-1. Who do you have in this game?
This, even though based on the record and everything I was talking about with the previous team, about how the competitive that was, this is going to probably be up there as far as one of the better competitive games of the week. When you look at the position of both of these teams, you look at the Packers for what they've been doing this year. We spoke very highly of them earlier in this show. You look at the Texans, not because you're a homer of them or anything, or because I'm trying to be a supportive homer for you as well. The Texans are just that good of a team right now. They're 5-1 for a very good reason. One of the more explosive offenses of the entire NFL, if not of the AFC, in comparison to a team that I follow and am a fan of with the Commies. So with that being said, I think this is going to be a tough matchup through and through because you have two really good offenses facing up against each other. My thing is the Texans on paper and for the past 2 seasons at minimum have been displaying that they are a better defense than the Packers.
There we go.
That's going to be the decisive factor in this game. I think it's going to be close though to end it. Yeah, I'm going to call this very similar to how I predicted the Ravens and the Commanders last week, where the Ravens will more than likely win. I'm not the Ravens. The Texans will more than likely win by 7 points or less. By the time we got to Commanders Gridiron Report, I was saying 10 points or less. And then my original prediction was 7 or less. Like I said on this show, became true. I'm going to stick with that. 3 to 7 points will be the decisive factor by the end of it. But the Texans win by no more or no less. And I will be shocked if the Packers win. And if they do, it's because of what happened early in the game this past weekend when the Texans were playing, where they had a slow start. CJ Stroud threw another interception or whatever the case may be, but they will have it. If they lose this game, it'll only be because of a slow start or a slow finish. And more so than not, the Texans have had slower starts and decent finishes. It hasn't been the other way around. So that's the only way that my prediction will go south, is if they have a slow start and can't recover. And just like I said earlier, they cannot continue to do this against good teams when they play them. And this is the beginning of that. If they get off to a good start, remain consistent on offense, not turning the ball over, and on defense, they play the way they know how and containing that other offense, they'll win the game. Slow start, though, it's over, but I don't think it's going to happen that way. It's going to be a good game to the end. Texans win.
I agree. I think the Texans need to get off to a fast start. And they need to establish that they're going to get off to that start so that they aren't battling uphill, because I think that's what the Packers want the Texans to do. They want to battle uphill. And I agree with you, too. The stronger suit of both teams to me in the difference is the Texas defense. I'm not so – we started this year, and I said I am not sold on the Green Bay Packers defensive front because I don't know if they can stop the run. And then, of course, Saquon Barkley ended up running over 100 yards against them. I feel stronger about saying the Texans simply because of Joe Mixon. His return seems to buoy the team's offensive production more. And because of that, I have the Texans as well. But I also agree with you. This is not going to be a blowout. It's going to be no more than 7 points. I think it's going to be probably 3 or 4 as the point differential for victory. Fox has this game at 1 p.m. The Indianapolis Colts at 3-3. They host the Miami Dolphins coming off their bye at 1-4. Who do you have in this one, sir?
The Tua still and all this stuff going on with the Dolphins. I don't see them winning this game at all. regardless of who's playing quarterback for the Colts. Joe Flacco plays, they're going to find ways to win. Anthony Richardson plays, which I don't see him playing because I think he's still going to be out for a little bit.
Right.
It's going to be close in that aspect of if he turns the ball over or not. But more than likely, Joe Flacco plays. More than likely, he's safe with the football. The Dolphins continue to struggle. They're more than likely going to have a top 5 pick in the draft this year, whether Tua comes back or not. And they need to start planning for the future because it doesn't look like it's going to be with Tua, and it's not going to definitely be with Tua during this game. The Colts improved to 4-3. The Dolphins fall to 1-5, in my opinion, after this game.
Yeah. Come on, Dolphins. I want you to beat the Colts, but I don't think any. I've heard a friend of mine say, y'all don't have the horses. And Flacco, all he has to do is play a solid game. He don't even have to play a mistake-free game against you guys. Just a solid game, and that's all he has to do. And the Colts will win. And unfortunately, I see the Colts doing that. All right, another Fox 1 p.m. kick. Actually, the last of the 1 p.m. games. The 2-4 Giants, they host their most hated arch rival, the Philadelphia Eagles, at 3-2. Who do you have in the Meadowlands?
What a game this is going to be.
Yeah.
I'm being sarcastic because this game's going to suck. But it actually will be close because it's a division game. All the division games are close. You look at how the Commanders and the Giants were as a battle of field goals, but that win right there was the spark that the Commanders needed to win 3 more games after that in a total of 4 straight and to be at the top of the division. This could be the same thing for the Eagles. This could be a spark for them that they need because they've been kind of an up and down roller coaster this year based on how things have gone. Looking at that for what it is, I just don't see the Giants winning this home game. The Eagles lose this game. I think those talks about Nick Sirianni getting canned during the season become even closer to being true because he is on the hot seat week after week after week. They pulled it out this past week. If you lose to a team of the Giants who are 2-4 and they improve to 3-4 and you fall to 3-3, that's going to be the beginning, closer towards the end for Nick Sirianni. However, I don't think it's going to happen. This is going to be a Saquon versus the Giants matchup. He's going to go. They're going to find a way to feed him the ball. They were feeding him the ball in the last game, but he was facing against a defensive front that was able to contain him. The Giants defense is not anywhere close to being of that caliber. He should be able to get a north of 100 yards in this game, and the Eagles win this game decisively by 10 or more points.
You hit the nail on the head for me. A motivated Saquon Barkley, not just playing against his former team, but actually playing against his former team in his former building. Yeah, I think that's going to be what's going to propel the Eagles over the Giants. And it's unfortunate, even though I think it's going to be a competitive game, the Giants, I don't think they have enough to offset what the Eagles can dish to them. All right, to the evening games, 4 or 5. The Rams at 1-4. They host the Raiders at 2-4. SoFi will carry that. 4 or 5 would be the kick. Who do you have in this game?
Yeah, the Rams have been banged up this year. It's definitely reflected in the way their win-loss record has been. Looking at the other team, the Raiders have been an absolute dumpster Pelican team. You look at the drama with Devontae Adams. You look at the fact that they don't have a reliable starting quarterback. I said what I said about Uncle Rico earlier, but it was a joke because ever since I made that reel, he is falling apart. This team is falling apart, and it all stems from the leadership at the top. And I just don't know if there's any way for them to recover this year and to become a team that we can take seriously. This game right here, the Rams need to win. Coming off of a bye week, Matthew Stafford getting a little bit of rest. They've been banged up at several positions throughout that team. They really need this win if they have any chance at least securing a playoff spot this year. They barely made it into their last year. They're barely going to make it in there this year if they don't turn things around right here and now. But I feel like the Rams, if they're going to have a really good chance of turning it around and starting a decent run for the second half of the season, it has to start this week coming off of bye week. They need to rebuild some momentum within their team. They're playing a team they can easily start that off with in the Raiders. You got to do it now if we're going to take you seriously, and I feel like they can. The Rams win this game at home.
I agree. I think the Raiders are unfortunately in a tailspin, then a downward spiral. I think they need to pull out of it, and I don't know how they're going to. And I don't think they will pull out of it here, going to LA. The other 405 game, the Commanders at 4-2, boat racing. Hosting the Carolina Panthers at 1-5. All right, tell me the reason why the Commanders are going to beat the Panthers.
Well, coming off of a loss in the Beltway game against the Ravens last week, even though you lost, still a confidence boost to be able to go against a team like that was in the AFC Championship this past year, that you were, 2 or 3 decisions away from potentially tying the game up and potentially winning that game on the road and extending your win streak. I don't believe that you're going to go play a game like that against a team like the Ravens and go backwards and lose against a team like the Panthers, who, even though they've played better under Andy Dalton as the quarterback, they're an absolute dumpster Pelican team. No matter what happens, the commies are going to serve the Panthers a big fat. Jaden Daniels is the truth. This offense for the future looks really, really good as long as they keep him healthy. Again, there's still several pieces away, in my opinion, from building a team that's at the level to be able to contend for a Super Bowl. Will they make the playoffs this year? It looks like it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Will they have a winning record this year? Regardless, it looks like that's going to happen. They're definitely going to have a winning record after this game, regardless, and be 5-2 going into a Week 8 contest at home against the Bears, which I will be in attendance for, and looking forward to it. I look forward to seeing this game being a victory for the Commanders.
Well, they win this game, they'll have more wins this year than last. So there you go. There's one victory you can check off the list. And I agree with you. Jaden Daniels is the real deal. And think about it. So you get to see the Bears 5-2 team hosting a 4-2 team. It's going to be one of the best games of the week, it looks like. Next week. Not this week, because unfortunately the Commanders have to boat race the Panthers, and I think they will. All right, the Sunday night game. So we got a chance to see one New York team disgrace us with their Sunday night performance. We get a chance to see the other. The Jets currently at 2-3. Of course, they host the Bills tonight on Monday Night Football. They travel to Yinzerville to play the Steelers, who are currently 4-2. 8:20 is the kickoff for Sunday night. Who do you have in this one?
Regardless of if they win the Monday night game or not, they are going to lose this one. And that being the Jets losing to the Steelers, because look at the Steelers defense. We've talked about it all year long. One of the strongest suits, unless something major happens during practice this week. I don't see any reason why the Steelers defense would be what causes them the win here. The only way if the Steelers will lose this game is if Fields goes out there and reverts backwards and throws several interceptions or fumbles the ball multiple times or has a Will Levis type of game where he passes for 95 yards in a game. And then by that point, if it was that ugly and it was all in the first half, they would probably most likely turn to Russell Wilson in that case, because he has been suited up, even though they haven't had a legitimate reason to put him in the game. Even though it could go to that point, I don't see it happening. I see Aaron Rodgers struggling against that defense until Aaron Rodgers proves that he is the Aaron Rodgers of old and can carve up defenses like he used to, which he doesn't have the offensive line to give him the time to do that. Nope. I don't see that happening. The Steelers win this game Sunday night, and probably by 10 points or so.
You hit the nail on the head. The only way I can see the Jets winning this game is if it becomes a giveaway fest, and if the Jets defense just force one takeaway after another. Because other than that, what I'm seeing is a team that already forces itself to be one-dimensional, and they can ill afford to be one-dimensional against a Steelers defense where if they know you're going to do one thing for 75% of your snaps, the game's already over for you. You make the first snap. And that's what I see here. I think the Steelers will go to 5-2, regardless of how the Jets play tonight. I totally agree with you. All right, well, that concludes the 2-minute drill. I hope you all have fun. Let us know what you think as well, who is going to win week 7 of the 2024 season. Type that in the description box below, and we'll be interested to see what you think.
Total football talk.
As long as it's one. Oh, that's great. I love it.
And now we come to the end of the program where we do the post game. Now, this is where we give our final thoughts as to what has happened in the week prior. And for his final thoughts in the post game, Drew, the floor is yours, sir.
Definitely like what I'm seeing out of the Washington Commanders team. Speak about them on the Commanders Gridiron Report. I'll talk about them here. Definitely each and every week they're restoring my confidence in them. For the first time and, feeling this good about the team and since 2012 when they were having the type of year they were before Robert Griffin III got hurt. I'm still not drinking too much of the Kool-Aid yet because, again, it's like I said before, it's going to take until we get to week 8 for me to really, truly really get a feel for this team. Offensively, I really like what I'm seeing. They've gained my trust in the offense. It's the defense that's still giving up 30 points, 30-plus points, and it's not by the defensive fronts, not by the linebackers. It's all mainly based on that secondary. The pass defense definitely needs some help. The rush defense is doing okay, but they've been a little spotty at different points too. But for them to do what they did against the Ravens, I can't reiterate it enough in this show. I won't be able to reiterate it enough when I do the Commanders Gridiron Report, hopefully tomorrow if my work night goes well tonight. But Mondays have been a little rough for me, for the past month or so, just getting in the groove since I started a new schedule. And I've had to do the Commanders Gridiron Report on Fridays. Going to go back to Tuesdays. Just got to get that first real good one in there to get back acclimated into Tuesday schedule. And you'll see me on Tuesdays. But for right now, I've had to do it on Fridays just to keep up with everything and prioritize everything right. Just a little side note with the Commanders. Off subject with football. I want to give a shout out to Wise El Jefe. I noticed earlier that he had gotten to 75,000 views on YouTube, which is absolutely really cool. Whether it takes 13 years, like in his profile's case, it's still really cool to be able to achieve that. I look at the things that we've done here for Sertoba Media between myself, with Cole, with his contributions with this program, and then helping me out with other things with the other programs as well. Kyle, Travis, and even this week with the debut this Saturday of Corey Mann's show, Behind the Grind. It's a wrestling show that you'll see this Saturday. I'm not sure the exact time it'll debut, but this Saturday, the 19th, will be the debut episode for that. What we've been able to do with this channel, I created it a little over 2 years ago. It's only been 15 months since we started producing content for it. And inside 15 months, we're at 60,500 views. A lot of that comes from the shorts that I produce, that Kyle produces, the work that Cole has put in here with me on this program. I wouldn't be able to pull this off in this short amount of time where I'm giving praise to other people who it takes over a decade to get to that point. We're doing this in a little over a year. The credit has to be given to the other people that do this with me because, where the other person that I gave praise to feels the strain of trying to do something on your own. It's hard to do. And consistency is key. If you take breaks here and there, it makes it hard to reestablish what you've built. If you change the days and times of a show, it makes it tough. I mean, we have had our struggles with this show where we had it at a certain date and time. It was averaging 100 and some views at that time, but moving it here, moving it there. And it's only because we've had to prioritize our lives. It's nothing that we're experimenting on. It's like Cole's got a schedule, I got a schedule, and making it work. We now have to reestablish ourselves at this new time, which we're doing okay. But what's going to continue to help us as we go forward is the consistency. And that has definitely made a big difference. The shorts make a big difference. Sertoba Media has gained, I think like 11 followers in the past week on YouTube, which is the most we've done in a while. And a lot of that comes from the shorts that Kyle Nash has produced. He's done a lot more shorts than I have. And those Jaguars shorts have been helping. Even the shorts that I've done, the one that we were talking about the Commanders last week, and I was getting the hate on there, that has like some 700 and some views. And we gained like 4 or 5 of those 11 followers from that. The rest came from the Jaguars stuff. This time I'm taking right now to just basically give progress reports is sometimes you do a video and it has like 5 or 10 views. It sucks. Like, especially if you put the time into the transitions and editing or whatever the case may be, whether you're live or you're not live, it doesn't feel good. But if you stay consistent and you have a plan and you don't quit, at some point, you're going to start seeing results. It may take a year. It may take 2. It may take 10. But at some point, you're going to see the results that you want. You do what you do here, just like me and Cole do, for fun. Other people play video games and do things with their life for some type of extracurricular benefit. This is what we do. Instead of playing video games, this is what we do, and it's fun. If it takes off, great. That's the ultimate goal. Okay. We're not doing this completely for the video game, fun aspect of it. But these are small wins here and there that will eventually continue to stack up if you have the right attitude, you stay positive, and you don't quit. Everybody deserves a vacation. Okay. You need to take a week off. You want to go hang out with your family, whatever the case may be, that's fine. But the real reason why Sartoba Media has been building the way that it has is because we don't quit. We don't take a month off. We don't take other times off. We find time to do it, to get it done, and there's teamwork. Where one person may need a break, somebody else picks up the slack and continues moving. There's never a week where there's nothing on this channel. You want true growth, you find a way to make it all happen. Communication is key. Teamwork is a must. And that's how it works out. And I can't thank everybody else enough, whether it's Cole, Kyle, Travis, and soon to be Corey, and the others that will continue to grow here. We're doing something really cool and really special here. It's going to take more time, but 60,000 views in 15 months. Somebody else and posting an award or whatever that they got, some type of medal. I'm very proud of them. But I was like, let me go see where we're at, because we got to be close to 60,000 at this point. And I was like, wow, we're actually over 60,000. I went on and posted that unit. Just wanted to say, not rubbing anything in anybody's faces, but more so as a thank you to that person who's definitely watched product on there and the other people. When you are real and genuine, real things come to you. And this is exactly it. And that's why we are now almost at episode 60 of Total Football Talk. 59 straight weeks of Total Football Talk. Next week is episode 60, and I'm already looking forward to it.
Wow. Good thoughts, man. Good thoughts. Wow. Powerful. And yeah, congratulations, Wise. 75,000 is nothing to sneeze at. I'm happy for you, brother. And I'm happy for you too for getting over 60,000. That's quite an achievement. And the time that you did, yeah, that is an achievement and a half. So congratulations to you too.
Thanks, bro. I share it with you. Like I said, you've been here for it, and it's one of many more we'll definitely achieve.
Oh, no question about that. Well, I remember where I was November the 18th, 1985. I was watching Monday Night Football. It was the Giants traveling to RFK to play the, well, they weren't called the Commanders. Then they were called another team, another name. But
REDSKINS.
But this was, of course, a vaunted NFC East matchup, and on one side you had the Smurfs and Joe Theismann, along with on the other side Dexter Manley and others, and then on the other side you had Phil Simms, QB, and Joe Morris running back, and then the person I think that a young man wanted to see of all of them, which should be number 56 for the Giants and Lawrence Taylor. And so I was pumped. I was sitting on the floor in my own room, and I was blessed to have a TV in my room. Just sitting there, just waiting for the game to start. And it turned out to be a pretty good game to start. And then I saw Theismann drop back to pass. And then I saw that ferocious pass rush that Lawrence Taylor would always provide. And I mean, he enveloped Theismann, tackling him for a sack. And I thought, okay, wow, that was a vicious pass rush, a vicious sack. And then I saw like hot water was splashed on top of Taylor. I saw him spring up, and he looked to the Washington sideline, and he just did this. And what little did we all know was when they carted Theismann off the field, he broke his leg. And that ended up being the end of his career. What I've always respected about Theismann was that he never, ever said, Lawrence Taylor is the reason why I'm bitter about the rest of my life. It sucks. Never. He never once gave that thought process of, man, I hate that guy. He always has had nothing but a profound respect for him. And obviously Taylor had profound respect for Theismann because, a guy who is on the opposite side of of your field, and a guy who's considered your enemy, you wouldn't just jump up and say, "Come on, let's get the EMTs here. Let's tend to them. Something is mightily wrong here." When you have those moments, I'm glad to see the fraternity of football forget the uniform that they're wearing, and they're dedicated to the guy who is severely injured. Cut to yesterday, or cut to Sunday, where we saw the same thing between the Lions and the Cowboys, and Aidan Hutchinson getting his leg snapped, and this one was by friendly fire. And it was painful to watch, but it was beautiful to watch the Cowboys and Lions fans and staff give Aidan Hutchinson we're with you. You're attaboy. You're awesome. You're going to make it through. It was good to see that camaraderie happen. And I think sometimes we need to forget those things need to take place, that we need to actually see these athletes for the human beings that they are. And if they continue to do that, then we will be beautiful. We'll be beautifully rewarded to see these athletes do what they do best. And that's entertain us with their absolute athletic prowess. So to Aidan, prayers are with you, my friend. Prayers are with your family. I hope everything is well with you and right with you. And don't worry if you get back. And I'm not talking about this season. I'm talking about ever. If you do, that would be great, and I would love to see it. And I'm sure others would love to see it. But if life takes you somewhere else, don't be afraid to go there, because you're meant to do a lot. You're meant to do a whole lot of other things, and you are meant to do things outside of football too. But if that journey begins now, so be it. It's not that you won't be missed. We just want you to be happy and healthy, like Joe Theismann was when he left the sport. And hopefully you can be that way. And if you come back, all the better, because I think you still have a lot more pass rushes left in you.
As long as it's one. I went to go find one yesterday, but I wasn't able to look at too long.
It's great.
So,
I love it.
actually, I was getting too
I hope it actually is recording. Listening to it.
Any thoughts, sir? Since I did mention your team.
Another great take. Another great episode, 59. It's hard to believe, again, we've been through so many episodes. It just feels like yesterday that we had just started this show up. Looking forward to next week, because I'll be one step closer to going to see the new Northwest Stadium, the first time I've ever gone there since it was FedEx. Talked about it a lot, but if some things happen the way I want to. We get there early enough, we might be able to interview some tailgaters. There's going to be some content from Sartoba that comes from it, pregame stuff that we'll have that I'll be able to add to CGR the next week. So
that's awesome. Okay.
Talking about it enough, and I might, and also to make it easier for myself, that week after that game. So the day after, through that week, I'm on PTO with my job. So that way I can get enough rest to be here. That Monday, I'll definitely be able to get Commander's Gridiron Report done on that Tuesday and just kind of enjoy what had just happened. So with that being said, 59 great episodes are in the books. Looking forward to chopping this thing up and getting it ready for the radio airwaves once I get home from work. But it is time to jump on out of here.
Yes, it is.
And get ready for the next one.
Yes, let's do that. And we love all of you. Now, if you want to catch old Drew on the social media airwaves, all you have to do is go on to either Instagram at Sartoba_media, at X at Sartoba_media, or at YouTube at Sartoba Media, or TikTok at _Sartoba. Now, if you want to join yours truly, all you have to do is go on to flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. That's flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson.
Eventually, I'll get on it.
Oh, Lord. Well, thank you guys for liking, for sharing, for commenting even, and for subscribing. And thank you for hitting the notification bell so you can catch all content that comes from the Sartoba Media YouTube channel and or the Coleman Media YouTube channel. We both appreciate and love you for it. For Drew Willingham, I am Cole Johnson, here to say in parting as we always do. In life, just like a tackle, keep your head up. And as always, you got to remember, you got to play until the whistle blows.
And don't forget to stay safe out here in these streets.